Welcome everyone joining us in council chambers and those joining us virtually to our November 12th council meeting. I apologize for a little bit of a delay getting started. We do have a few things to go over in our conference agenda, so Madam Clerk.
This is to inform the general public that this meeting is being held in compliance with Section 5 of the Open Public Meetings Act, Chapter 231, Public Law 1975. The annual notice was emailed to the Star Ledger and filed in the Township Clerk's office on November 21st, 2023, and published in the West Orange Chronicle on November 30th, 2023. Councilwoman Castellino?
Present.
Councilwoman Geber Michael?
Present.
Councilwoman Scarpa?
Present.
Councilwoman Williams?
Present.
Council President Rutherford?
Here.
Mayor McCartney?
Before we begin, I was just informed when I walked into council chambers that our former business administrator, former police director, Mr. Jack Sayers passed away today. Yeah, we just were in,
Friday.
well, I was just told today, so I don't know when it happened.
Friday.
Okay, what happened? It happened Friday?
Yes.
Many of you that are just learning, I just learned as well. For those of you that have been around a while, Mr. Sayers has been a fixture in West Orange for decades. So I would like to have a quick moment of silence to honor his passing before we get into the rest of our meeting. Thank you. All right. So we have a proclamation, the 2024 Extra Mile Day. Madam Mayor.
Okay. Council President, thank you for the moment of silence for Jack. Thank you. So good evening, everyone. Welcome. So let's just to explain, Extra Mile America was set up a few years ago nationwide, inviting municipalities to join to challenge people to do more than just wish for change. West Orange is one of those registered municipalities. We registered about 14 years ago. However, West Orange is so fortunate to have individuals who accepted that challenge way before this national initiative began. So we are here tonight to recognize and thank those individuals who have served and those who continue to volunteer to serve to affect positive change in our community. So that was the invitation. Thank you for accepting the invitation. And our proclamation reads that basically saying the same thing, that West Orange is a community which acknowledges that special vibrancy exists within a community when individual citizens collectively go that extra mile and do more than just wish for a change. I'm not going to read the rest because I had eye surgery on Wednesday and it's very small font. So you know why we're here. So our first group to call up is the West Orange Planning Board. Yay.
All of us getting it? All of us getting pins?
Yeah, why not?
Just, I'm just going to go around here.
Oh, yeah. I don't want to sit in the other doors.
No,
it's fine.
We don't get pins.
How are you?
Everybody bounces.
On November 13th is it, right?
You want your picture? You want your pin on the picture?
Okay, so I'm gonna give my updates.
We're gonna wait one month, just just go all the way. All the way.
All right.
What are we doing?
We're waiting for all the volunteers to come up. Okay.
Come this way and that way.
Okay.
Council President, you can return to your seat.
There you go.
There you go. And you'll be in the picture. Great. Everyone. All right, so we have West Orange zoning board. And anyone from West Orange Historic Preservation Commission?
I'm here. That's there.
How you doing? Mike Clark. This is my brother.
The Downtown Alliance.
What's this? Which one's this downtown? Was that downtown?
Library trustees?
That's up. I know, I think everyone else is set. I'm right behind you.
Environmental Commission.
You gonna get a pin?
Or what, Open Space Commission?
Be very careful.
Yeah.
I know. Look, he's so. I'm gonna say that.
We can thank Joe for helping to assemble all of these. Older Adults Advisory Board, I see we have.
You don't pick. Unless you're gonna give it to someone else. The keychain, so. Hi.
Yeah. Yours is broken.
You gotta get another one.
Yours is broken. It's on down. Bills. Here. I'm gonna get them again. You can have that one.
Congratulations. You did my second.
Sorry, make it room. Make it room.
Congratulations.
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 Yes.
And we're only halfway done.
Congratulations.
Our West Orange Human Relations Commission.
Here. Here, double up here. Hey, Jack. Have to go in the back.
You want like, have two rows, have some people stand up.
West Orange Arts Council.
Just in time.
Mayor's program for the uniquely gifted.
Oh.
I got a couple inches here.
West Orange.
Can you grab an extra one?
I'm not set for yours. We'll get it. Do I get another kitchen?
That's what I was.
Yeah. How far you start?
Absolutely. I'll make some room for you.
Performing arts.
Oh, yeah.
Public Relations Commission.
And Pat.
Don't throw it there.
Counting.
West Orange Municipal Alliance.
We could fit a few more on this side too.
The Rena House Board of Directors.
Well.
And Pete, yep, there you go, okay. And do we have West Orange Animal Welfare League? I know was invited. We'll get everything out to everyone that was not able to attend. So we're saying thank you for doing more than just wishing for a change. Thank you. Okay, Joe. I did just, and the West Orange Pedestrian Safety Commission, the advisory board, but I think most of them are already serving in different capacities. Take as many pins as.
Okay, everybody look this way. Okay, you can stay there for the rest of the day. Thanks.
Great job, everybody. Great year. It's nice to take the
Absolutely. We got the best draft class there is, right?
I get it.
Thanks, man.
How are you, Tommy?
Yeah.
But I had called Sheila. She said she was gonna come and then she don't drive.
Okay.
But we can't really stay. And when you got the new Ford, hopefully.
That'll be great.
We gotta give Josie one. She'll say that Josie. Thank you. And I have the book for you, the vitamin. In fact, it's in my car. Yeah. You said you wanted the vitamin. I'm gonna get it. It's the hard work that you've been doing for me, you know, last 2 years. It's in the backseat of my car.
You'll come to my house.
You don't have a single time.
Thank you for all you do.
Hello. What?
Thank you. Thank you, good people. So for those of you that have served, we certainly do salute you. This was not the easiest year to serve, but you guys came through with flying colors. So thank you for what you've done for West Orange, and we look forward to an even better 2025. We still have a few minutes left, about 4 to be exact, for council liaison announcements. We will start with Councilwoman Williams.
Liaison announcements. Yeah, I don't have any of those. Thank you.
Councilwoman Scarpa?
Okay, economic development did not meet this month. We'll be meeting next month, so there's not too much on that. OSPAC, as we know, concluded our season, so there's not too much there, but we're looking forward to next year. And the Older Adults Advisory Board, I want to thank everyone who served. It's been a long year. Our seniors did really enjoy their trip to Liberty Middle School to see the community band, and they are asking me to make it a monthly event. So I am looking for ideas of where we can go each month on a little field trip for our seniors. We have our group from the Degnan House who don't have wheels, do not drive, and really appreciate all we do. So thank everyone for their service, and that's about all I have.
Thank you. Councilwoman Geber Michael?
Good evening, West Orange. The Open Space and Recreation Commission met this last week, and that's our last meeting for the year. We are going to get out a date for our tour in the spring, so look out for that. The next meeting will be in January. The Pedestrian Safety Advisory Board meeting, as you all know, I mentioned last time, canceled its October meeting, and we're canceling the November meeting due to scheduling conflicts for most of the board members. So I will keep you posted in the next meeting. Thank you. And that concludes my liaison announcements.
Councilwoman Castellino?
Thank you, Council President. First Saturday of December, I have to pull up my calendar. Our holiday open house in the township. First Downtown Alliance will be hosting breakfast with Santa at Washington Street School in the morning, with our trolley rides to follow throughout the Main Street and Llewellyn Park. And later on, the Recreation Department will be putting on their celebration here at Town Hall. So we look forward to that. Also, I had the opportunity this Sunday to go with Mayor McCartney To my parish, Our Lady of the Lord's Church has celebrated 110-year anniversary. Father Jim Ferry did a wonderful job with our special guest, Cardinal Joseph Tobin. So that was a very, very beautiful mass and celebration with the Cardinal, and 110 years in our township. So we're very appreciative to all those who made that possible through the years. And yesterday was a beautiful day. Veterans Day was celebrated here in the township and recognized. Our veterans were the highly decorated, and I'm sure Mr. Fagan will probably have something on this with all his details in the township. I just want to thank for the first time putting this presentation together. She did an outstanding job. Melody Showalter, she had taken over the event this year, and Public Works and our police and firefighters. So just a beautiful job, and Mr. Joe Brennan hosting as well in our Elks Club. So just a really nice event. And I was glad I was able to be present. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you, colleagues. So tomorrow night, Planning Board has a special in-person meeting to further consider the West Essex Highlands development. One of the things that came out in our last meeting, colleagues, for the first time, at least since I've been on the Planning Board, is that when discussing the West Essex Highlands development, it has frequently, in the conversation, has frequently been said that the settlement agreement governs. And it was acknowledged on the record by everyone at our last council meeting, our last planning board meeting, that the planning board is not subject to or a party to that settlement agreement. So while it has been discussed ad nauseum, honestly, the settlement agreement has, the planning board is not a party to it. Now, the ordinance that was drafted and duly passed by the council at that time does incorporate many aspects of that settlement agreement, but the planning board is not a party to, nor subject to, nor bound by that particular settlement agreement, which I think is important because that's what we've been talking about this entire time, how the settlement agreement governs, and it does not, at least at the planning board level. So for those of you that are interested in that particular project, come on out tomorrow night or watch via Zoom. The link is on our website. This Thursday, we have joint meeting where we will adopt our budget for 2025. The budget includes a 3.2% increase, which is less than the rate of inflation. I'm on the Finance and Budget Committee, and we did a tremendous amount of work, including today, to present that budget to the full board for a vote this coming Thursday at 4 o'clock. So look forward to that meeting as well. And that's it for me on liaison announcements. I will say every year, it is always hard for me to make the Veterans Day program. I've only made it once in the last 5 or 6 years because my family and I travel. This year was no different, but had I been in town, we certainly would have been there celebrating. I do come from a military family, including my father, who was a veteran of the U.S. Navy. We acknowledged him on Sunday at church. I think that's it for me. Anything else before we go into our regular meeting? No? All right, Madam Clerk.
This is to inform the general public that this meeting is being held in compliance with Section 5 of the Open Public Meetings Act, Chapter 231, Public Law 1975. The annual notice was emailed to the Star Ledger and filed in the Township Clerk's office on November 21st, 2023, and published in the West Orange Chronicle on November 30th, 2023. Councilwoman Castellino,
Present.
Councilwoman Geber Michael,
Present.
Councilwoman Scarpa,
Present.
Councilwoman Williams, Council President Rutherford. Will everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance?
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The council is now in their public meeting.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. As always, we will begin with public comment. Public comment is for those that are in person only. So if you're joining us via Zoom, you will not have the opportunity to comment. And we will begin with Mr. Fagan, followed by Mr. Puglisi.
Thank you, Council President. As was mentioned at the beginning of the meeting, Jack Sayers passed away on November 8th. He was a former police director and business administrator and gave many years of service to West Orange. And on a personal note, Jack grew up in West Orange, as did I, and we both played on the PAL Mustangs in 1969, not 1869, 1969. So Jack is certainly going to be missed and well remembered here in West Orange. I want to start out with a public safety notice, but before I do that, the mayor had mentioned earlier that she had eye surgery and could not see, and I could see well, and I can attest to that. Because the first thing she said to me this evening when she came in, she says, "Joe, you look wonderful. How much weight did you lose?" So we know that there were some, that's a joke, you can laugh. So we know that there were some problems. Okay, not all these jokes are intended to be funny, by the way. Okay. Fire pits and any recreational burns are now prohibited in West Orange until further notice. Of course, that only makes good sense given the current dry conditions that exist throughout the state. If anyone is using a fire pit, the fire department will show up on scene and extinguish the fire, and the West Orange Police is instructed to advise the fire department of where fire pits are. And I was alerted before the meeting that this notice was inadvertently removed from our website. And I want to make people aware, residents aware, that this still is in effect, and it will be reinstated tomorrow on the website. And of course, there is a statewide ban for recreational fires throughout the state. That has not changed. The only thing that has changed is the intensity of some of the wildfires around the state. So please be aware of this and just practice common sense and adhere to the restrictions. New Jersey Transit has changed their schedule, and we are in the process, West Orange is in the process of updating their jitney schedule. That has not yet been completely ironed out, but please be aware that that will change and updates will be posted on the website. I believe this is phase 3, PSE&G notification is hereby given of their milling and paving schedule. This information, this chart, it begins today, November 12th through November 19th, and this is posted on westorange.org, so you can see where this will fit in to the affected area. Certainly expect delays and, plan accordingly. And as I say, that's from the 12th through November 19th. Essex County Mobile Health Clinic, Mr. Puglisi may want to talk a little bit about this. There was, this is very beneficial to West Orange residents, and that's why I pointed out. The one today, of course, was earlier today, but there are 3 others, and this information is posted on our website. So please check it out if you feel it could be beneficial to you. Earlier this week, we had a water main break, and it was about 25 homes that were affected, and we had this information posted on the website with updates as it became available. But I want to point out to residents that if you go to our website, you can sign up for Code Red, and you would receive water alerts directly from New Jersey American Water. You wouldn't have to rely on something like our website. So this is very beneficial information. You should check it out and sign up for it. There is no cost associated with this. Coming up at the West Orange Public Library, November 15th, there's an anchor property tax relief program. This is intended to guide you, navigate you through the application process, which is fast approaching. I believe that's December 6th, and it could be a little bit daunting. So if you attend this seminar, perhaps you can get some easy or even difficult questions answered on how to apply for these for this program. As Councilwoman Castellino pointed out, yesterday was our annual Veterans Day ceremony. Unfortunately, I was not able to attend because I'm coming off of being sick. In fact, I'm feeling better tonight. Thank you. But there were Joe Brennan, who himself is a Vietnam veteran, is the MC of the ceremony. Of course, the West Orange Elks and the VFW is involved each year in the program. They're great community partners. And I believe Councilwoman Williams and Councilwoman Castellino were there yesterday. Pastor Adams, who himself is a U.S. Navy veteran, was there, and Rabbi Kausowitz was there to deliver the benediction invocation. And the gentlemen that you see on the left there are from the Essex Troop, and from the Essex Troop right here in West Orange, and they participate in the with the council members in the laying of the wreaths. The tradition started by the Gold Star Mothers back during World War II, perhaps World War I might be mistaken. Also, the Junior ROTC, Air Force Junior ROTC participated, as did the West Orange High School Band Quartet that provided the music for taps. Also, new to Town Hall, you may have noticed if you came in downstairs, there's Welcome to West Orange Town Hall. These are wayfinder signs. They're going to be on the first floor, and this that was the lower level. I'm sorry, this is on the first floor, and there's on the second floor. And now this is a work in progress. This is only our first edition. There's going to be some updates as we as we find out what works, what's confusing, and what will work better. We will change this up. But these will be on every floor, and it will guide residents who come into Town Hall to hopefully find out where they're going without getting lost. And as I say, these will be on every floor. There's going to be one between the first and between the lower level and the first floor, and that one is going to be essentially a mini version of the e-sign outside. So I'll be updating announcements there as people walk by. They'll get some notification of that. If you want to email the council, as was mentioned by Council President, there is no Zoom, there is no public comment from the Zoom audience, but you can contact the council at westorange.org and send them all an email at once. Thank you very much, Council President, for your indulgence. And at this time, I'd like to pass the mic to my colleague, Mr. Puglisi.
Thank you, Joe. Hi, Anthony Puglisi, representing County Executive Joe DiFincenzo. Just a couple upcoming events before Joe puts the holiday light slide up. While you put it up, so holiday lights has become a tradition at Turtleback Zoo. This year it begins on November 22nd, and on a range of dates continues to December 31st. Last year every year we ask residents to bring either non-perishable food items, new toys, or used winter coats. The public is bring stuff, open arms. The way people think of others during the holiday season is magnificent. Last year, for instance, we collected 28 tons of items during this 6-week program. And I know a lot of our food is donated to the Community Food Bank in New Jersey, and they always tell us that the food that we collect during the holiday season is a major supplier and helps them sustain themselves during the months of December and January. So there is no admission to holiday lights. The only admission, like I said, is the non-perishable food, winter coats, or used toys. At the bottom, you'll see on the bottom left is the Historic Holiday House Tour, which is Saturday and Sunday, December 7th and December 8th. One of the stops on the tour, which is self-guided, is the Edison site and Glenmont. Information about those two events are on our website, which is essexcountynj.org. And then finally, if we just back up the calendar a little bit, before Thanksgiving on November 21st, starting at 9 a.m. at the Cherry Blossom Welcome Center in Branchbrook Park, is our Thanksgiving food distribution. We're going to have frozen turkeys and boxes of food, 1,000 of each, while supplies last. We know that inflation is hurting everyone this time of year. We want to make sure that we give everyone an opportunity to have a nice Thanksgiving dinner, and anyone in Essex County can participate in that event. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Puglisi, and Mr. Fagan. We will now open public comment to those that are in the gallery. Please approach the microphone, give us your name and address, You will have 5 minutes to address the town council.
Been through this drill before. Name is Philip Litwinoff, 11 Linden Avenue, here in West Orange. First of all, and I realize that all the provisional votes have not been cast, but the way it looks, Councilwoman Castellino, I will give you an early congratulations because that's the way it looks like it's going.
Thank you.
To Council President Rutherford, thank you for your service. I'm sorry it didn't work for you. I hear my comment this evening is dealing with ordinance number 2881-34, which is an special emergency appropriation in an amount of not to exceed of $1.8 million to fund contractually required severance liabilities. I've lived in this town a long time, since 1977. I have always believed that when we pass a budget on behalf of the township, it covers all what CPA, I will say, generally accepted accounting principles, which means when you have employees who are earning severance during their term, that money is being funded in each budget. And we, as residents, are paying our share of those taxes to cover the severance. To be told now that there is a special emergency allocation of $1.8 million is unconscionable. It is deceptive. It is not fair to the residents of this township. I urge each one of you to either vote against it to begin with on first reading, or at least to find out how many people, the list of names that are included in this amount. It should never have hit a special emergency allocation to fund. And I think you, as our council representatives, need to pay attention to that. And candidly, if there is a clawback provision for inappropriate accounting, that should be enforced. And maybe that will come out during the this special audit that's being asked for. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Good evening, town council, staff, and neighbors. My
Mr.
name-
Johnston, you have to give us your name and address.
Yes, my name is Stephen Johnston, and I live at 49 Sheridan Avenue in West Orange. I rise tonight to request that the town council pass an ordinance requiring that all publicly accessible single occupancy restrooms display a gender-neutral sign. In other words, ensure that restrooms available to the public and used one person at a time are not restricted based on gender. Single-use occupancy gender-neutral restroom bills have been passed in Maplewood, Montclair, Jersey City, and Princeton, and an executive order was issued in Hoboken. Many have been in place for years. New York City required single occupancy restrooms to be gender neutral in 2016. The entire state of New York followed in 2021. The state of California also required gender neutral signage on single occupancy restrooms as of 2017. There are several reasons to pass such a bill. These include gender equity, disability rights, and LGBTQ+ safety. We've all seen lines outside of a women's restroom as men did not wait. Recently, while in a Millburn restaurant, I saw a line of individuals form outside a women's single-use restroom as the men's single-use restroom stood empty. This legislation removes an arbitrary and insubstantial demarcation that forces women to wait for a restroom for no reason other than a sign on a door. As an individual with a disability, signage on a single occupancy restroom can delay access and so cause distress. This leaves individuals who need access to a restroom as soon as possible stranded and in the awkward position of waiting in pain, having to ignore a bathroom's gender sign, or begging others to move up in a line. Allowing single occupancy restrooms to be open to anyone, regardless of gender, can remove this barrier and quicken access. Even the knowledge that all single-use restrooms in the township will not be barred to someone based on gender will aid those, like me, who live with the distress of a digestive disability. As a member of the LGBTQ+ community, I've been misgendered on numerous occasions. For those who fall outside of the gender binary, gendered restrooms force a non-binary person to make a difficult choice that could impact their safety. A female friend was once told she was in the wrong restroom because she wore a pantsuit. Requiring that single-use restrooms have gender-neutral signage prevents the self-righteous from policing restrooms, gender expression, and queer bodies. The passage of this bill will help ensure members of the queer community can move through society with more comfort, knowing that they will not be turned away where single occupancy restrooms exist in West Orange. This legislation is supported by the American Psychological Association and the National Institutes of Health, which support gender-neutral restroom policies as essential for health and well-being. As I have said since June 2024, when I first brought this bill to the township's attention, I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have. Our neighbors here in New Jersey have seen the value of this legislation. Entire states have as well. Millions of people live with the benefit of the right of bathroom access regardless of gender, and you can add West Orange to that number. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Joseph Vina. I live at 34 Stone Drive. Congratulations to Councilwoman Castellino on your reelection. I'm here basically to speak on an ordinance that involves 3 words: quality of life. I understand that there's an ordinance that was passed first reading before the council, which is now before the planning board, which is an ordinance to prohibit pop-up parties in neighborhoods. That ordinance will be coming back to the council, and I wanted to speak this evening because I don't know if I'll be available when it's before the council. This is an important ordinance because I think the quality of life is important to everyone in this town. I've lived in this town for over 50 years. In fact, one of the councilwomen who ran for election had quality of life on one of her election brochures. We have an issue in Olmsted, and I've been advised by members of the police department, that's also an issue in other parts of town of parties that are called, quote, pop-up parties. The problem we've had for at least 3 years is that prior to a party being held in a private residence, it's advertised on social media by what appears to be a professional party host, tells people who the disc jockey is going to be, who happens to be someone probably with a great following, which draws a lot of people, how much the party is going to cost to attend, and the location and other things. This is what happens. On the day before the party, the outside or the outdoor johns are delivered. Additionally, tables and chairs are delivered and deposited on the driveway and lawn. On the day of the party, which is usually on a Saturday at around noon, a disc jockey arrives, starts putting his equipment together on the deck by the pool, and the music starts. By about 1 o'clock, cars start to arrive in the neighborhood. The cars continue all day, and as the music continues, in addition to the loud music, which is heard all over the neighborhood, you can't be in your home without hearing this music. You can't have someone on your deck without hearing the music and not being able to have a conversation. The cars inundate the entire neighborhood from Pleasant Valley Way up to Stone Drive and all the cross streets. The host of the party, I don't know whether it's the owner of the home, but they put a woman at the gate, the entrance of the backyard where the pool is, at a table. And that's the woman to whom the attendees have to pay to attend the party. During the party, in between the music announcements, they announce the cost of the liquor that's being sold at the party. Obviously, that's a violation of the ABC requirements. There are other violations which I'll go into. During the day from about 1 o'clock till whenever the party ends. Now, if the police do arrive, if they are called, by 11 o'clock, at least the music stops. If the police don't arrive, then the music continues till maybe midnight. During the day, it gets so congested that if the police are called, they don't let residents drive into their own neighborhood unless they prove or show that they're residents, because there are so many cars. The cars are parked corner to corner, driveway entrance to driveway entrance in front of homes. During the day, people are walking throughout the neighborhood, mostly going to their cars, because rather than pay for the alcohol that's being served at the party to which they had to pay an admission charge, they have their own beverages in the car. So they drink alcoholic beverages, soft drinks, and fast food. By the time the party's over, maybe sometime after 11 o'clock, cars are driving through the neighborhood, screeching, going through our driveways, making K-turns. And even during the day, which is so disturbing, you'll see these nice kids, leaving the party, and they're walking into someone's driveway or backyard to urinate. It's absolutely disgusting. Now, one of my neighbors had even told me that she had spoken to a particular council person here and was told the parties are okay, they're not illegal. My son goes to it. Well, let me tell you, you can't run a business in a private residence according to the zoning laws in an R zone in a township of West Orange. So the fact that someone is charging people to attend a party in their home, charging people to buy alcohol beverages in their home, that's illegal. Now, having spoken to the police, the problem is that even though it's a zoning violation, our zoning official doesn't work on the weekends. So no matter how many people call the zoning office, it's a voicemail. What's more problematic is that the zoning official lives maybe 3 houses away around the corner. And she is also, unfortunately for her, like all the neighbors, inundated with the noise, the congestion in the cars. But one good thing about it is, and I don't want to make a joke out of it, but you get to meet your neighbors. Because on a Sunday morning, the morning after the parties, the neighbors are out walking throughout the neighborhood in front of their homes, picking up bottles, cans, fast food wrappers, and condoms, which are left on the street after the party's over. This is an absolute disgrace. I don't know how much more I have to tell you, but I don't think you want it in your neighborhood. We don't want it in ours. Now, the questions I'd like the council to answer this evening at the end of public comment are: one, how many of you have ever gone to a family party to celebrate a birthday, an anniversary, an engagement, a bar mitzvah, anything, and had to pay to go to a party in a private house? I've asked people from Bergen County to Monmouth County. No one's ever had to do that. I don't know how many of you have, but if you have, I think it's absurd. And the other question is, if any of you do vote or want to vote against this ordinance, please tell us this evening the reasons why you'd vote against it, so that when it does come up for a second reading, members of the neighborhood and the other neighborhoods where this occurs could appear here and respond to that. Thank you very much.
Good evening. This on? Good evening, council. I just would like to follow up on Mr. Litwinoff's.
Ms. Rudin, can you state your
Oh,
name and address for the record?
Sure. Joyce Rudin, Woodland Avenue. Council-elect. I just wanted to follow up on Mr. Litwinoff's concerns about the ordinance 2881-24. And I know I'm going to sound a little bit like an owl, but I have a lot of who's. Who wrote this? Who is this for? And who on the council will authorize spending on $1.8 million when we don't have any information in this special emergency authorization of who is getting this? This is the exact opposite of transparency, and this should never have been brought to the council. So I urge you to get information to what appears like several or one golden parachutes and discuss this with the citizens of West Orange. And do not pass this forward into second reading. Thank you so much.
Good evening, Council. Michaela Bennett, Old Indian Road. Good. Okay. The council was misled to believe that they had the authority to appoint the law department head for a term in excess of what the law allows. It is true that the mayor, authorized by NJSA 40:69A-43, may appoint municipal department heads. The relevant statute reads as follows. 3-13.b. Each department shall be headed by a director who shall be appointed by the mayor with the advice and consent of the council. Each department head shall serve during the term of the office of the mayor appointing him and until the appointment and qualification of his successor. What this statute means is the mayor may appoint department heads to serve during her term. The department head will serve during her term and will only hold over until the new mayor appoints her successor. This does not prescribe the length of the term. The length of the term of the appointment is found at NJSA 40A:9-139. The council was led to believe otherwise. That guidance was misleading, inaccurate, and false. In the agreement for services for the township attorney of the Township of West Orange, the third whereas clause states, whereas NJSA 40:69A-43, a section of the Faulkner Act, provides that, quote, each department head shall serve during the term of the office of the mayor appointing him and until the appointment and qualifications of his successor. I'm adding emphasis here, which takes precedence over NJSA 40A:9-139, requiring that the appointment of the municipal attorney be limited to a term of 1 year, suggesting that the state statutes were in conflict with one another. They are not. The mayor appointing department heads during her term is not in opposite to the length of the term of appointment being limited to 1 year by state statute. Leaving aside the concerns that language in the agreement raises about whomever drafted it and their ability to digest and advise on law, the council must correct their actions that violate law. The appointment of a municipal attorney is authorized by state statute. I read to you what that states. That means a mayor shall only recommend the appointment of a municipal attorney for a term of 1 year. This is further supported by the longstanding history of the West Orange Township attorney appointment. For every year that Mr. Trenk was appointed as township attorney, his appointment was for a term of 1 year, as the statute requires. It is only during the McCartney administration that the council was misled and advised to violate state statute, and that error should be corrected. I am asking that this council rescind all contracts and resolutions that violate this state law. The mayor may cure by recommending appointments of her department heads for the term prescribed by law at her earliest opportunity, but the council may not perpetuate an unlawful act, and it was unlawful to appoint Mr. Trenk for a term longer than 1 year. With the time that I have left, I would just like to raise the ordinance that's on for first reading, 2881-24. If this administration will not tell you who, they should tell you how many. How many employees require you to require you by contract to pass an emergency appropriation of $1.8 million? How many? They won't tell you who, have them tell you how many. I'll bet you it's one. Maybe more, but I'll bet you that one is involved, and you need to know, because there should be no contractual obligation that causes you to emergency appropriate nearly $2 million. That's not how.
Your
you
time
run a
is up.
township. And I thank you, but just if I could finish the thought, and that's not appropriate for you to approve. Thank you.
Hello, Lawrence Cohen, Lincoln Avenue. I was out campaigning and learned a lot about the town. I just want to report just some observation. The biggest issue was that the taxes are too high. I particularly heard comments from seniors who say they can hardly afford to live in their house anymore. They're waiting for a godsend of a bill from the governor to stay in New Jersey or something like this. And they also mentioned their friends that have moved out, and when they didn't have enough money to live in their homes, that things didn't end too well for them. Many times the shock and the stress of moving caused health crises for these people. So this financial crisis is also a health crisis. Observation about some of the bills on the agenda, the 1.8 million. I'm sure the people that that I met while campaigning would be against that. They'd be against the $160,000 engineering survey for Crystal Lake. I know it's attached to a grant to refurbish or probably pave over and cut down trees and just urbanify this, acidify this area. They'd be against that too. I mean, we can't just look at a grant and say, oh my God, this is great, and then pay money for something toward the grant. And then when you look at the overall outcome of what the grant is, it could be negative for the town, for the long-term health of the town. I went to the Crystal Lake because I saw advertisement from Doug Adams' campaign literature. And it was wonderful to visit right behind the closed down bowling alley. And I walked there and there's this old man fishing. And he says he's been there for 65 years fishing. And he said it used to be pointed toward the condominium. So he said this used to be full of animals and woods, and this was wonderful. He said they did they fixed this, and they did dredge some of the lake, and some of the fish became a little more varied. He says there's perch, and there's bluegill, and there used to just be catfish, whatever. But he wouldn't. I don't think he would appreciate if this became a non-natural, more urban acidified area where he couldn't really just spend his last years fishing. And I think we have too few places like that in West Orange, so we should consider that. Also, there's an animal control agreement with Roseland for $16,000 a year. I think that we did the animal control for them. I think we may be selling ourselves short by charging only $16,000. I mean, that's hardly enough to employ somebody who's in animal control. So unless there's a sweetheart deal from Roseland toward us, a reciprocity, it doesn't make sense. I think it should be a higher amount. That's basically it. I just feel sorry for the seniors that are we have to get the budget down lower for whatever. I think inflation and actually coming, toward 2000, toward the next year is probably going to be lower than this 3 or 4%. We should have zero or something, zero budget or lower, or maybe even lower the taxes. have 1 year where the people of West Orange say, we're not only are our taxes not going to rise, but your property tax, but they're going to be lowered. That's what, some seniors were just hoping for. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else?
Good evening, Council, Mr. Rutherford. My name is Richard Friedman. I'm the president and treasurer of Bel Air at West Orange Condominium Association, consisting of 250 homes on about 165 acres. We all probably know about the fires in Livingston, which consume parts of 192 acres. Many of our residents are concerned, and this doesn't involve Bel Air at West Orange. It actually involves much of the township of West Orange. What we can do, what the township could do to lower the risk of a fire occurring in our town. Many of our acres are heavily wooded. Many of our streets, Baxter, Fredericks, Kovac, Hunt, and Rome, are somewhat surrounded by trees. Some of it belongs to the township, some of it are ours. I called the fire department today for some advice on that, but I was only able to leave a message. I would suggest that if it's not taken seriously at this point in time, it should be. We have a lot of dry acres, and it doesn't take much without the rain for a fire to start. Somehow, I would love for the community, the council, to communicate with the fire department and send out notices to various areas to see what we can do so that a fire doesn't start. Preventative action can go a long way to preventing the kind of disaster that could possibly occur in our community. And certainly, perhaps the town engineer, I used to know Lenny Lepore when before he retired for many years, could go about clearing some of the areas where we could just have a tinderbox fire started and decrease the chances of it. So I don't have any questions per se, but I just want to tell you how important it is that we look into this, and whatever we could do to prevent it will be money well spent. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Todd DeBovi, Burnett Terrace. I think those of us who have attended council meetings in the past over the years, there has been no shortage of situations where information provided by the administration has been lacking or misleading or outright false. The $1.8 million resolution for emergency spending is one of those examples where there's no information given to us. There's no calculations that show how the amount was arrived at, for whom. This is a municipality. When you come to work for a municipality in a public setting, your information can be disseminated. The information that is missing is how much and to whom the money is going to. And I think that this resolution should be rejected until that information is provided. I also agree with another resident, Ms. Bennett, with reference to the information or the legal advice that was given to the council in connection with Mr. Tranks and with reference to his contract. There have been so many instances where that kind of information has been provided. In this instance, it's provided by the person who benefits from it most. I think that places a huge responsibility on the part of the council to knowing now that that information was in conflict with state statute to fix it now and tonight, and let the cards fall as they may. I think that's all I've got for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, seeing none, public comment is now closed. I do want to thank all of you for your comments. We will begin with Councilwoman Castellino.
Sure. Thank you, Council President. Okay, let me start off with let's start off with the $1.8 million the accumulated leave payout. That is 27 individuals. We do have the list. We were given it today. We do have the names, the breakdown. Individuals don't only need to get paid out. They have the choice, I believe, in one lump sum, or they could break it over a few years. And I'm gonna let administration or CFO answer this question, Council President, when you want him to respond. So, but as far as that's said, there's 27 individuals. There's, I'm just reading the names of folks that have been with us for 40 years, older contracts, banked their sick days. So those numbers do add up. But that's what the contracts were back then. And again, I'll let the CFO talk to this and the procedure and the process. And Mr. Vina, thank you for coming in and talk about the pop-up parties. I definitely agree with you. I had asked the chief to see if he could find something that we could put on the books. I spent the majority of my time this summer talking with residents and discussing their quality of life issues. Just talked to somebody this morning that there was an event on Valley Road Saturday night that the police were at twice. And so, yeah, something needs to get done. I hope my colleagues will support it when it comes back to us, and I'll let them talk to it. But yeah, I will be supporting it. This craziness has to stop in the township. And I know there are a few situations, and in fairness to my colleagues, they're worried about if somebody has an event and they don't want it interpreted as a pop-up party. So we do have to be careful with that. And I'm good with that too. But overall, I just can't believe the behavior of some residents. Now, we have a mercantile's license. So if you work from home or any business in town, you have to register. We have ABC requirements. Just the violations just amaze me and really disappointing. And but we did pass a couple meetings ago the open container, that you cannot have open container alcohol or use of cannabis in the township in public spaces. So our police officers do have a tool in their tool belt for that. And so hopefully they'll be able to utilize some of these, it could help them with some of these situations when they arise and they're in your, come to a neighborhood and see that. But again, everything's about balance, and hopefully we'll be able to figure this and the ordinance will pass through. But yeah, we just had another event this past Saturday night, and very disappointing to see that another neighborhood that this was carrying on for many years, which is just ridiculous beyond belief. What else? Mr. Freeman, thank you for coming down. The fires have been scary, really, really scary, even traveling on the Parkway this weekend. I had asked the chief, I'm not sure if it went out on Friday or Thursday, if a reverse, I know he's away now, if a reverse, I don't know what we call it, 911 or 411 with information to go out to the residents, because I know we did have alerts on Facebook. Not everybody's not on Facebook. Myself included, I don't go on there too often. So and there's folks that just don't look at our website. So I'm not sure, maybe Mr. Smeralda could confirm if that went out to notify our residents via phone call to beware and to be alert of fire safety in their neighborhoods. Any other comments? I'll defer to the administration. And let me see. Oh, Crystal Lake. So yeah, so at the last meeting, I had mentioned that Senator McKeon advocated, and we have a $1 million grant coming to us for designated for Crystal Lake. So the soft costs would probably, I assume that this tonight is included within that grant refund for soft costs for, and that was one of my questions when we get to the resolution, because it usually is. It, we're not looking to urbanize the lake. We're looking for the residents to enjoy it. I mean, the history of that lake has always been for our community to enjoy that, and great history there that Mr. Fagan even has, I believe, history boards up there. Did you put up there with the scouts?
Reproduction sign.
Yeah, reproduction sign. Yeah. So we want to encourage fishing and quiet recreation. We don't want to urbanize the lake. Some of that funds will also be to improve OSPAC itself. I know they're in need of a new stage for the floor or whatever, the recreation department and deems viable for that project. But again, it will come to the council, and at that point, we'll be able, after a survey or study is done, be able to determine what will go there. But that will be on the recommendation of our recreation director. But yeah, I have no intent of seeing that urbanized. We want to see our residents enjoy it and its beauty. And I know that it has been stocked with fish each year. There's a fishing derby for the young ones in June for the little ones. So we hope to see that again this June as well. And I think that is it for me, Council President. Oh, wait, and Mr. Johnston, sorry. Your comments, I didn't get a chance to call you today. I asked you for your phone number that we'll have a discussion, but yeah, we're always going to do what we need to do. I know the chief had responded to you over the weekend that the mayor said she would move forward within the public spaces. But we do have to have a conversation with our business owners to see how and how it impacts them directly and the cost that would be included. But I don't think anybody, from what I heard at the last meeting, was too much against anything. It was just more about making sure our business owners can implement without a huge cost impact and to see what that is. So we just need time to study things before we pass ordinances. Any case. Thank you very much, Council President.
Thank you, Councilwoman Geber Michael.
Good evening, West Orange. Thank you all for joining us here in person. To those of you online, I am going to start off with Mr. Litwinoff. Thank you so much for your advocacy and speaking up about the $1.8 million bond. I too have many questions. Our council president sent a detailed email today asking for all the information that most of you have brought up tonight. For me, it's important that we need to see the actual contracts for the village to make sure they're valid. I would like the opinion from our town council because I would like to know who's saying that's contractually obligated. And then who is it for? We just found out right before we walked in, we received the packet of names of who and the amount for each payout. But it would have been nice to have Thursday evening when we received our packets, because I don't have time during a meeting to sit and read through these many pages when I'm supposed to be paying attention to A, public comment, B, the rest of the meeting. So I was going to ask that this be tabled so that way my colleagues and I have the time to read it, go through it, and then have time to ask questions. Also, because we were in the dark about this. So hold on, I lost my train of thought. I also would recommend that we go in executive session if it's needed in the next meeting to discuss whatever it is, because this is sensitive information. I don't know that if the administration can place this on the website, that I'm gonna defer to the administration. They might not be able to with names, maybe titles or departments and the payout amount. I'm not sure, but again, I defer to the administration to what they can and cannot put online. So that's how I feel. Also, it's our obligation to the town. It's our obligation to the town dictates that we get written confirmation from the comptroller that this payment is not unlawful. And And I read a report and understand that West Orange was identified as violating this law. So I just want assurance that this type of payoff is legal. That's really important to me. We have to make sure we do our due diligence before we vote on bonding $1.8 million. So I'll put that to the side. Mr. Johnston, thank you so much for your advocacy, for coming out. As you know, 100% supportive. I've had conversations with you on the phone. I've sent you emails. I even brought this up in the last meeting and asked for a follow-up. Our interim business administrator did send an email that this is something the mayor is supportive of, and, you know, they are going to place it once legal has a chance to look through all the paperwork. So I hope that will happen the next meeting, if not the meeting after, but I am 100% supportive. So thank you for coming out here tonight and for your advocacy. Mr. Vina, thank you as well. Quality of life is very important for residents. And I understand what you and your neighbors are going through, and I'm sorry. I actually happened to drive by one day to visit a constituent, and I guess one of those parties was happening, and it was really difficult. It was like cars double parked, people in the streets in their cars. Like, so you have double parked cars and cars on one side, and it took me about 10 or 15 minutes just to drive a few blocks, and it was just madness. So if this is happening often, I can understand why quality of life might be diminished for neighbors and for residents. You know, we made a motion. I believe, I don't know if someone made the motion, I think I seconded, but I am in support of this. I think that we have to reword the ordinance a little bit, but I'm sorry for your quality of life issues and for the residents that have experienced it throughout town. To answer your question, I myself personally have never paid for a party, you know, but, you know, and I'll leave it at that. Ms. Rudin, thank you for coming out to speak. Council-elect, congratulations. I covered the 1.8 million. Ms. Bennett, thank you so much for your due diligence and your advocacy. Always, you always come here with facts, and I plan to make a motion during new business for us to rescind the resolution approving the directors, so that way we can follow state statute and do the right thing. Yeah, we're not perfect, but we learn and we fix our mistakes and we move on. It's all about good governance and doing the right thing. So thank you for your due diligence. Mr. Cohn, thank you for coming out to speak. Taxes are high, yes. You know, I was shocked as a freshman council person last year when the mayor proposed a 16.20% tax increase. And I had to like rub my eyes. I thought it was a typo. I thought it was 6.2. But we are working diligently. And, you know, this year, council president worked really hard on the budget alongside the council, and he was able to reduce the increase. So you have him to thank for that. And, you know, we voted to support that. So we are working hard for the people and trying to find ways to bring income in so that way taxes aren't skyrocketing. I don't think that we can ever reduce them. I don't know that's possible, but we'll work hard to try to stabilize. And Mr. Friedman, thank you for coming out here tonight. Just so you know, there is a statewide fire ban due to dry conditions and due to increased wildfire activity all throughout the state. No fireworks, fire permits are banned. So we will do our best. I know that I have received calls from residents who are concerned with fire pits, and I believe that the fire department has been called. So you know, people are doing their due diligence and working together. We're all in this together. If you see something, say something. And Mr. DeBovi, thank you as well for your advocacy and for always coming out here and speaking. So on that note, I conclude my response to public comment. I will ask the administration for an update on contracts to see where we are with our police and fire, their union contracts, with ASHME, the Teamsters, and the Dispatchers Union. So if we can get an update just to see where we are. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Councilwoman. And I'm going to excuse myself briefly, but Councilwoman Scarpa, followed by Councilwoman Williams, if I'm not back before she finishes.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Puglisi and Mr. Fagan, for your wonderful presentations as usual. And for all the vets, I want to say thank you to the students and vets. Unfortunately, school was in session and I work at Washington School. So this year I was not able to attend, but it looks like everyone had a wonderful time. Phil Litwinoff, I just want to say thank you to you for taking a detailed look at the budget and helping us understand that this is not the way we do budgeting, and that and that what we should be doing is we should have this in the budget. We should be forecasting for it, and we really need to look each month at our budget and understand where we are. And I think Councilwoman Geber Michael made some very nice suggestions. I really agree with all of them, including looking at contracts and getting a better handle on where we are. Everyone knows we've got $170 million of debt. I've been concerned about it. You've been concerned about it, with 11% carrying costs on that. It has to get under control, and I'm hoping our new CFO is going to do that. And I think with our new council, we are going to make sure that every month we were looking at our town finances. And I would like to ask you to think about serving on our Citizens Budget Advisory Board, because we need more voices in our community who are knowledgeable. We need the CPAs and the finance guys to step up and hold us accountable. So thank you very much, and round up some friends, because budget season will be coming soon. Stephen Johnson, I understand all of your points. I think they are good ones, and I think our administration will follow up and assess the feasibility of your request. I know I've seen some emails from the chief, and I'm sure he will get back to us on that. Jovina, thank you so much for coming out. I am so sorry that I was unable to read your concerns. They were so much more effective with you reading them. But I want to let you know that I did read it verbatim to Chief Abbott. And he assured me that we were going to get a handle on this situation. I want to assure you that it is shocking that this kind of behavior has gone on in our town and disturbance of our residents for so long. I will, of course, be voting for the ordinance as is. I just can't even believe that this has happened in our town. You know, I grew up in our town and I went through our schools. I've been here a long time, and I cannot believe that this kind of stuff is going on. And we need to really follow up on it. And I think the chief will do that. I'm a yes. Joyce Rudin, congratulations. Thank you for coming out tonight. I'm looking forward to working with you. Michaela Bennett, thank you so much. You've brought, your expertise is also invaluable. You have brought to light a problem that I have had for a long time, where getting complete and accurate legal advice has been very difficult for us, particularly for me. And it's been a problem. I've had to go outside and basically get a lot of do my own research and get advice from those wherever I could. I think the fact that there's no one here from the legal department tonight to address these concerns makes a statement about the lack of attention to detail and the lack of advice that we've gotten. But please continue to keep us honest. Lawrence Cohen, thank you for all you do and for learning so much about the election process and how the problems of our neighbors. You know how concerned I am with our taxes and with our seniors, but it's not just our seniors. I've had neighbors having to move out of town because our finances are our taxes are so out of control. In terms of Crystal Lake, I agree with you. I was just shocked and confused when I got Pastor Adams' flyer about development at Crystal Lake. I had not really heard anything about it. I mean, I know that we did get a grant to clean up the lake. And I think that's a great idea, but I do have a question to the administration of how much is it going to cost the municipality? We have $1 million for the cleanup. How much are we investing in this endeavor? And I can't vote for it until there's a lot more detail about exactly what we plan to do there. The animal control, I don't know enough about, and I would defer to the administration on that in terms of the costs associated with it. But zero-based budgeting is something I've talked about for a long time too, and I think that would be a good goal to move towards. Richard Friedman, I understand the fires are really out of control. We also have a lot of neighbors that like to have fire pits, and we have a lot of residents who have called me and are calling about that, particularly at this time when we have such a problem. So thank you for bringing that out, and I will ask our administration to answer your question about exactly what we can do, if anything, to assist. And Todd DeBovie, once again, thank you for coming out. Of course, I totally agree with you, and I don't think we have legal counsel to answer your questions, but maybe someone else can. That's about it.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
Thank you, Council President. I want to say good evening to the residents of West Orange. Thank you, Mr. Puglisi, and thank you, Mr. Fagan, for your information regarding the $1.8 million bond appropriation and those that spoke regarding that concern and that resolution. Very disappointed that this is happening at the 11th hour at the end of the year when it was not a part of our budgeting process. But I do understand that we do have to pay out the people that have to be paid or that are retiring. Obviously, the administration will go into further detail and explain whatever can be disclosed publicly. But we do have the information in front of us identifying the individuals and the amounts that they will receive. There's been a lot of concern and a lack of trust over the past couple of years with this administration. These are the types of things that cause the concern. And while we can't go into talking publicly about the individuals, certainly I would hope and expect that this would not ever occur in our administration again. I want to thank Mr. Didniak for everything that he's done thus far. I feel that financially, with his coming to us as a township, that there has been a tremendous amount of transparency. He's extremely informative when he comes to the meetings and gives us information, as well as if we contact him directly with any inquiries. So things will continue to get better. Things will continue to improve, and things will continue to get more transparent, and I'm confident of that. As far as the fires are concerned, certainly there is the state band, as my colleague mentioned, and as far as fire pits are concerned, please, everyone in West Orange, do not light any fires. Do not throw cigarette butts out. We have a very, very, very high incident of fire. It appears that it would be common sense, but we all know that common sense isn't always so common. But anything that the administration can do, whether it be updating the e-board and putting more messaging around town, would certainly be helpful in an effort that we can continue and try and protect our community. In Livingston, the fires are very devastating, and I'm not even sure if they are 100% contained. When I was in Livingston on Friday, the fires were still going. As far as the pop-up parties are concerned, so yes, I did identify the pop-ups as a strong issue for me because of some of the language. I do believe that pop-up parties are a nuisance in our community, and I'm very sorry that they have continued and have devastated the neighborhoods in the way that has been described. Initially, when the first pop-up party was brought to our attention as the body, the governing body, it wasn't as egregious as they have become. So unfortunately, when we first talked about it, there was one particular resident that was having the pop-up parties. Since the initial complaint has happened or occurred a couple of years ago, obviously the pop-up parties are in different places throughout town. I think that we do have to be mindful whether or not any of us has attended a pop-up party or a party and had to pay is quite irrelevant. What we need to be focused and concerned on is whether or not these pop-up parties are creating a nuisance to the residents. It has nothing to do with whether or not we've attended before. And our concern is the nuisance to the residents. So yes, we do need to figure out the appropriate language, but we don't need to, and it's parties for profit is the concern and the right terminology. A pop-up party is my concern because again, people have pop-up parties. So I don't want to create an ordinance where we are banning a specific title and not the occurrence or the incident. And I think what the appropriate name would be is parties for profit. I don't think that that is something that any of us want to see happen and continue to be a nuisance and or a disturbance. So I think that is something that can be addressed is the title and not necessarily the pop-up party. Pop-up parties happen all the time. It's the parties for profit. I agree with you, Mr. Cohen, just going out, knocking on doors. Taxes are extremely high, not just in West Orange, but taxes are high. Inflation is devastating. Our seniors who are on incomes that we don't have a lot of room for people to just live. We're in a very, very, very expensive community. But at the end of the day, we have to be mindful as a township, as a municipality. Case in point, an additional $1.8 million appropriation in November. We're November. We haven't even received the capital budget. My question is, are we going to get a capital budget this year? And you know, we just have a lot of costs that we have to wrangle in. So I'm in agreement. As far as Crystal Lake is concerned, yes, we do need a little bit more information about the cost to the municipality, to the township, and what these upgrades are going to be. A lot of times when you get a grant, there is also a match or some output from the township. We have not discussed that yet, so hopefully the administration will be able to respond to those questions. And I think that covers everything that was addressed except for Mr. Johnston and the single occupancy restrooms. Again, I'm supportive of that. I've spoken to you about that and I have no issue with that change. Again, we discussed how it would impact our businesses and we may need to make sure that there is no financial hardship if we do move forward with passing the ordinance. But I'm definitely in support in every capacity. And I do believe that it would certainly be a move in the right direction for our community. I think that completes all of my responses to public comment. Certainly waiting for more information from the administration. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. As always, Mr. Fagan and Mr. Puglisi, we certainly do thank you for your timely information. Especially this, two things Mr. Fagan mentioned, the heightened fire risk that has been well discussed already, and the anchor application program. I think that is crucial. So please, for those of you that are seniors that are looking to take advantage of the anchor program, please do stop by the library on November 15th. You can check our website for additional details. Mr. Litwinoff, I do agree we should not have needed an emergency appropriation. Now, I understand that that's a special designation, so when we get to that, obviously I want to have that discussed. We have had some discussion about this today, not enough to, at least for me to vote on it. But some of what was shared with us today it contradicts some of the opinions that people have. So number one, it's my understanding that this money has already been paid. This is not money that will be paid. So the bond is coming after the payments have been made to spread those payments out over the course of time with interest. But if that is the case, then, I don't understand why it's an emergency appropriation if we knew it was coming. I would assume that that would be in the normal appropriation process. And we certainly do have some additional questions that we will handle when we get to 2881. Mr. Johnston, I am in support of, and we've had this conversation multiple times, of your recommendation to the council and to the mayor that all single-use restrooms be gender neutral. It's been done in other municipalities and in other states. Mr. Vena, I've never had to pay to attend a private party at a private home. However, I generally don't go empty-handed. So while there may not be a stated price, generally I will bring something as a gracious guest. And I think part of my concern with regard to the way the language represented these parties in the ordinance is that folks could decide to have a charge, not necessarily that it goes to make a profit, but for the college graduate or the high school graduate or the newlywed couple or couple that is to be newlywed. The other concern I had is that it was a knee-jerk reaction, or at least it felt that way. If we're going to do it, especially since the summertime has now passed, I think we should be clear about what we're trying to accomplish. And one of the things I've said that has gotten a little bit of pushback, which I really don't understand why, but people that are going to break the law are going to break the law, right? So what do we do? What are the tools that we have when folks cross the line? And then the last part of that was, what about very large parties that have no charge for anything, including admission or alcohol or anything? You still have that nuisance. If no one was charging, but you still had cars parked on both sides of the street, which I've had in my neighborhood at certain points of the year, you have these parties that are attracting a large number of folks. That is still the same nuisance. And so what are we doing, or are we providing an opportunity for folks to impact a party that is otherwise, in concert with the law? So I don't think we need to go quickly. And that was my argument initially. And I think we should be intentional and deliberate about how we craft the language so that we don't have unintended consequences, especially since the peak party season has now passed. Ms. Rudin, congratulations. If she's still here, yes, she is. Congratulations, Councilwoman-elect. I wish you well in your tenure. I wish Mr. Krakowiak well also. And to your point, we should know who is getting the money. There is a list here of those employees, and there's some things that we can talk about in public and some things we can't. But in addition to the number of employees and the amounts and the names and the titles that has been provided, thankfully, we got that today. We, as Councilwoman Geber Michael mentioned, need to make sure that the calculus was proper in coming up with those numbers. So again, we'll have more discussion about that when we get to it. But we've not seen contracts, and there is very little trust at this point, so everything has to be double and triple checked. Going to ask, and Mr. Trink is available by phone, or at least I'm told, or maybe he's on Zoom, tonight, I would like to know his opinion on the state, is it 40A:9-139, where the state says directors serve for 1 year at a time. I've had some conversation with one of my colleagues about this. I don't know if our ordinance is consistent with the state or not. I would certainly like to know. I do think it makes it difficult for mayors to attract quality talent at the top of the org chart if that particular individual has to worry about keeping their job every single year. And this is irrespective of who the mayor is. To perform that role well, you're going to need competent talent in these multiple departments. And I'm not sure that having to qualify for that and meet what could be political needs on an annual basis will help us get that kind of talent. And if we do, then my expectation would be that we'd have to pay more because they could very well be out of a job in a year. And I know some folks are going to disagree with that, but would you leave your job, especially if you're a highly compensated or highly accomplished professional, would you leave your job for a 1-year assignment with no guarantee that you're not going to be out in the job market again in a year? And then God forbid, if you are in the job market again in a year, it's probably not going to be because they have a good report, which will make it harder to find another job. So there does have to be some balance. And I recognize how we got here, right? It's because there is no trust. It's because we get so many things time and time again done in a way that just doesn't seem right or fair. So I certainly do understand and share your sentiment with how we got here. But I'm concerned about the ability to deliver high quality services for a township of 50,000 people with multiple departments if the department heads are going to have to fight for their job on an annual basis. I think that would invite too much politics into that decision. And so I would make that, I certainly would like to know what the state says, understand the rationale for what the state says, and then understand how that has played out in practice. Mr. Cohen, do appreciate you showing up tonight. So I've already discussed the 1.8 million. I'm not going to go back to that. There'll be further discussion later. With regard to Crystal Lake and OSPAC and the 160,000 that's on the agenda tonight, I'm certain that we will have a full discussion about it at that time. I intended, as several of my colleagues did as well, to pull that for discussion, to learn more about what that really does and what that entails before we actually vote. And for your, with regard to your comment about the animal control services shared service agreement, that number does seem a little low, but Roseland is also a small town. I don't know if that's a fair number. I don't know. I think if I'm recalling correctly, 2 years ago, we did this, or maybe it was a year ago, but I think it was 2 years ago, we did this same thing. And there was some testimony at that time about the number of calls our animal control officers had to attend to in Roseland. And it was in the single digits. So, we'll have more conversation about that tonight, Mr. Smeraldo. I hope you're prepared to discuss it. So while the number does seem low, it may in actuality not be, but it is worth understanding before we vote. Mr. Friedman, I want to thank you for coming tonight and representing the Bel Air community. I think your commentary highlights for us that climate change is real and it is affecting people in ways that some folks may not have anticipated. Under this council, we've tried to address climate change because the administration has not taken a single major project on, even though there has been agreement to do a townwide solar project in conjunction with the Board of Ed. And the Board of Ed was present in the meeting and willing to work with us to do that. That would have a major impact on our carbon footprint, would save us tons of money on an annual basis and provide some money up front to the township. But that has been shelved because of politics. Now, because we didn't do anything major, the council decided to do what we could do, which was take up the tree ordinance, take up the gas-powered blower ban and other things around the edges that will have an impact, but not necessarily a major impact. But that is the reason why the tree ordinance has to be honored. Because with these conditions, and now we're over 40 days with no or little or very little rain, less than a half an inch in 40 days, and no rain expected in the next week or so. I think the next time we can feel confident about having a storm is the 21st or the 22nd. I just looked at it a moment ago. With these conditions, we have to we're not going to get in front of it. We're already behind. But we have to do everything we can to mitigate the effects of climate change, which includes a strong tree ordinance. It includes a gas-powered blower ban. It includes a townwide solar project. It includes so many different things with regard to development, whether it's impervious or pervious materials, recyclable materials in the build, and providing other incentives for developers to be more green. We just had a project that incorporated a green roof, or at least they're hoping to incorporate a green roof into their project. And they're doing that because they recognize the impact that climate change is having. We've already had a fire near Bel Air. And if that fire were to happen now, with the level of how dry the woods are between the recycling center and Bel Air, it would be devastating for that community. And every single community in West Orange has the same concern. So I don't know what can be done. I'm glad to see one of our union representatives from the fire department here tonight, but I don't know what we can do to, improve our resistance to fire. I'm happy to hear the councilwoman's suggestion. I believe it was Councilwoman Williams. I don't know to put it on the boards or to increase our public communication about it. I support that wholeheartedly. If there's anything else we can do townwide, I'd be supportive of that too. The last thing we want to do is say we coulda, woulda, shoulda after we have a tragedy. Thank you, Mr. Friedman. Mr. DeBovie, I've addressed the 2881. We will address that again later. I did address your concern with regard to Mr. Trink, and I was told that he's here. He's available tonight. So if he is available, I would certainly love to hear his thoughts on the consistency between the state law and our local ordinance. Now, one of the, with regard to Mr. Detiniak, before you speak on 2881 or anything else, I want to be very clear for the public. While it is appropriate for him as our chief financial officer to address some of these issues, most of this is not of his doing. So he is picking up pieces from a prior CFO. And some things he's going to agree with the way that they were done, and some things he's not. And some things he won't have a choice but to do them because he's joining us at this time under these circumstances. So with regard to these payments, we'll have a full and robust discussion about them. I'll give you an opportunity to respond in a moment, but we'll certainly have a full conversation about it before we vote. But also with regard to the capital budget, I will remind the public, he just started in September. So yes, we should have a capital budget, right? And I don't know if there are obstacles being put in your way in delivering that or not. I do know that I have been very clear. I am a one-issue voter when it comes to the capital budget. There will be some things in there for parks, or I will vote no. There will be some things in there for the library, and we're going to address some flooding issues, or I will vote no. That's where I stand. We play politics with too many things, and the quality of life has now been impacted to a point where I am no longer willing to even entertain a conversation about why or who or what if we're not going to do certain things for the residents of this town. That is going to end my commentary on that. And I was surprised to hear that West Orange has been cited for violating the terminal leave payout rules and law. So when Mr. Trink is on, would certainly like to hear his response to that as well. So we've had a few items that have been tossed to the administration. I'm going to ask Mr. Smeraldo to weigh in first, followed by Mr. Deteniak, and then if we can, Mr. Fagan, get Mr. Trink connected with us. He's not on? Okay,
He's not on yet. I'll ask him to get on if you.
yep, thank you.
When I'm done presenting, I'll call him and see about getting him, right?
Thank you.
Okay. So, so I'm gonna just go down to what I've written here. So, with regards to the emergency ordinance 2881-24, I am going to defer to Mr. Teniak. So that would be Mr. Litwinoff. Councilwoman-elect Rudin, congratulations. Mr. Cohen, I believe, spoke about it, Mr. Bennett spoke about it, and Mr. DeBovi. So, Stephen Johnson, so I've met with Stephen Johnson a few times on a few occasions, and I know he's had multiple meetings with the mayor and in regards to this particular issue with the single-use bathrooms and others. And that the administration is working toward moving forward toward the single-use bathrooms. I will let you know that, I'm sorry, I don't see it. Back there is. The chief did notify the law department to try and have this on for next meeting for the 25th, just so you realize that. We did do an inventory of our public buildings. From my understanding, the only single-use facilities we have in our public buildings are 3 fire stations, town hall, and that's the only other facility we have. So it would be fire headquarters, stations 3 and 4, and the basement here of town hall, which I wouldn't recommend anybody using. Oh, except you, Megan. To Mr. Vina, the pop-up parties, I know that we are looking at that. It has been sent to the planning board. It was not heard at the last planning board meeting. I am not sure what schedule is going to be on because I'm sorry? No, not the planning board.
no, I'm sorry.
No, not the planning, but no,
It's gonna be on the next one?
I don't know the schedule. Our planning board schedule is so backed and council president can attest to that. So I will talk to the director tomorrow, see when this should be placed on. So, all right, so I'll talk to her tomorrow. Okay, Mr. Cohen, regarding Crystal Lake, we received a $1 million grant through the governor's office. This particular resolution for tonight is to look at how much is going to cost the township in doing the program. This has nothing to do with urbanizing. To your point about fishing and things of that nature, I was a kid up there. I used to get up there as a kid. We all used to hang out up there. That was my neighborhood, that area. The vision of the current director of recreation is to put in a fishing pad or a fishing dock to make a path that's inclusive to walk around the entire facility to enhance the experience of the OSPAC. That is our intention. That is what we're looking to do. We're not looking to urbanize, just put blacktop and somebody can walk around, whatever. But there's a lot to it. The total cost we're estimating right now, if this project were to go through, will be $1.6 million, including the $1 million grant. This is what we would need to pay for it. It's not a matching fee. The $160,000 that's on for tonight is a reimbursement of that $1 million. So we have to put it up front. We would be reimbursed through that grant. This is to get us an idea of to what we would like to see to be placed up in and around Crystal Lake. And that's why we were asking for this money. We just received this money 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
3 weeks
Right.
ago. And we're working on it now because this is a time-sensitive grant. It has to be completed by December of 2025. So we're trying to move this forward. This is for the betterment of West Orange. We're looking forward to making between the library and OSPAC and Crystal Lake. We're trying to put some small little jewels in and around the town to make it improve for the township. So that's what we're looking at with that particular project. Mr. Friedman, is it Friedman or Freeman? I'm sorry, Friedman, I'm sorry. So I don't know if you know, I'm the retired fire chief for the Township of West Orange, so I know a little bit about firefighting, just a tad. I will tell you, some of the areas that you're concerned about are not publicly owned property, they're private properties. We just can't go on there and clean them up. We would encourage our neighbors or those properties to do so. But with regards to the leaves themselves, our DPW is out right now. They started November 1st. They're going in and around all the neighborhoods. A lot of leaves have fallen early this year because of the drought. They are out there picking up the piles because they're very large. One of the things that wasn't mentioned, which was a problem in the past, is catalytic converters and leaves do not mix well. And we've had a lot of car fires in the past. We've had a lot of major fires where there was problems with leaves on the streets. So The prevention is to make sure that we get our leaves picked up. Some of the things that the citizens can help, instead of putting piles in front of their house, if they don't have a landscaper, they can actually bag them. That makes them less vulnerable. So these are little things that we can do. But if there is an issue, you call the fire department. And you said you called today and you left a message, and I'm sorry they didn't get back to you. But if you feel it's an emergency, you can call 911. You can also call 325-4000 if you feel it's a non-emergency but needs to be investigated. The dispatch will send out a fire apparatus to investigate, and they can determine, because big fires don't start big; they always start small. So if you see something that's bad, please let us know. We'll send out, and we have our personnel is on 24/7. They're ready to respond, and they'll take care of it. Okay. This is not where I can talk to you after the fact. Okay. So let me talk to you after the fact. When I'm done, I can meet you outside and talk to you more. Okay. Okay. What else? In regards to union contracts, we were asked a question before. They are ongoing right now with all our unions, our labor unions. We met with I believe, every union at least once up to last week. We're trying to negotiate still with them. And that's about as much as I'm going to say about that, because we're in negotiations. But we are negotiating with every union. Okay.
Excuse me, Mr. Smeraldo, can we put on the next agenda a closed session to get an update to see how this is progressing?
That's your call. If you would like to do that, then please let us do that.
Well,
You maybe bring it up on the new business, or on the new
Okay,
business, we can
sure.
put under executive session. And then we'd be happy to talk about it. Okay. Regarding the public solar array, just so to give you an update, one of the things from that meeting we're talking about, the Council President, what you talked about earlier was that from that meeting, what we had with these companies in the past, one of the things I can report on a positive is that the rent a house is actually, I had a meeting with them today. I sit on the board there. We just received HUD approval to move forward with putting a solar array on top of the building, which will help that building out. In the interim, I mean, since then, though, I know that the mayor has had conversations with the Board of Ed. The Board of Ed has decided not to partner with us. They're falling out, and that the mayor is actually looking and has had conversations with some of the solar panel people to continue that dialogue and to move forward. Because we can't get together with the Board of Ed, we decided to go on our own, and that's what we're doing now. Okay. And then regarding the capital budget, Mr. Deteniak is busting his butt since he got here. He's catching up. He does have a presentation for you next week. It will be included with what the costs are. We're going to have just a general presentation, and I'm not going to leave. I'm not going to steal his thunder. I'll be the intro. He could be the star of the show, and he could tell you what's going to go on with that. I believe I answered all your questions, but if I missed something, please let me know.
Thank you, Mr. Smeraldo. Mr. Pitiniak.
Step out for a minute.
Thank you, Council President. Just to back up Mr. Smeraldo, on the November 25th meeting, we will have a capital presentation. We'll have some of our department heads up with some visuals, and we'll talk about our 2024 capital program, even though we're at the end of 2024. Backing up to Mr. Lipinoff, and I apologize if I said your name incorrectly. We were talking, or you were talking about GAP. So the municipalities in the state of New Jersey, we follow a regulatory basis of accounting, or OCBOA, I think was the term they used to use. Special purpose vehicle is something that they use now. So if you look at our audits, and it's all the audits of all the municipalities in the state of New Jersey, we receive an unmodified opinion on the regulatory basis of accounting as set forth by the Department of Community Affairs, Division of Local Government Services, and we receive an adverse opinion on U.S. generally accepted accounting principles. So what does that mean? So we don't accrue on our balance sheet for future severance costs. We also don't accrue for post-employment benefits, such as the net pension liability that we share with the state of New Jersey, nor do we accrue for future healthcare costs, like those legacy healthcare costs. You can find some of that information in our notes to the financials, but it's not on our balance sheet. So as a frame of reference for just speaking about severance liabilities in the most recent audit, which is the year ending 2022 audit, we had an unaudited liability of around $11 million for future payouts, I should say, for accumulated sick, vacation, personal time, comp time, any other sort of compensatory days that a union or non-union member may have banked and available to be paid out in retirement. So let's get back to the 1.8 million. As the council president said, we've already made these payments to these former employees at this point. Beginning with payroll period 1. We made a sizable payment of 500 something $1,000 spread between 7 employees. So these payments have already been made. Why are we doing it at the end of the year? Because with the special emergency designation, we can spread the impact to the taxpayers over the course of 5 years. So that 1.8 million, instead of raising it all in this year's budget or having to raise it all in next year's budget as a deferred charge for an over expenditure of appropriation, we're going to raise $360,000 of it. And that's going to be the impact to the taxpayers for 2025. And then 2026 will be, another $360,000. So that has been the township strategy in the past. If I go back to November 8th of 2023, which is nearly a year ago, the council passed an appropriation for 1.5 million for severance liabilities. In 2022, they passed an ordinance for $950,000 in severance liabilities. In 2021, an ordinance for $500,000 in severance liabilities. So this is not anything new to the township. It's a strategy so that we're not impacting the taxpayers with big lump sums all at once. We're spreading it out. Now, we can talk different strategies, or maybe we're putting more money into the budget every year to fund these liabilities. And starting with the 2025 budget, I apologize for the pops on the mic. My wife, who does voiceover work, would be very angry with me for how I speak into the microphone. For our 2025 budget, because transparency is important, the state of New Jersey is going to require us to provide a very detailed listing of all of our current severance liabilities. It used to be broken out just by collective bargaining unit. Now there's going to be a more detailed, by employee listing. So, that information will be available for 2025 on a by employee basis. And again, that's part of the Division of Local Government Services, new user-friendly budget requirements. So let me see if I'm answering all the questions. Yeah, so I addressed that we don't follow GAAP, we follow ACBOA. I encourage the accountants out there, if they're bored one night, to read through our RMA audits. They're pretty interesting, and there's a lot of information to glean from our notes to the financial statements. But again, back to these payouts. We've already made the payouts. We are now asking for this special emergency so that we can spread the cost over, and I say the cost, I mean the impact to the taxpayer over 5 years. I think I covered everything. Is there anything else, Council President?
Do you know if we've been cited? So looking at the Office of State Comptroller, they did, and I have their report in front of me, so let me pull it up. They have 3 findings related to, and I don't know if we're all looking at the same thing, but there were 3 findings related to the 2007 sick law rule, the 2010 sick law rule, and two of those findings reference our employee manual, and basically saying that
we allow for payment of accrued sick leave at a time other than at retirement. I've only been here a couple months, but from what I've seen from the way our timekeeping system is set up is that unless there is a bona fide retirement, our system wouldn't even calculate a payment of sick time. Referencing our personnel manual that, at least from what I have, was updated way back in 2006. We do reference the fact that paid sick time is only paid at the time of retirement. So I don't know why the Office of State Comptroller noted those, made those two notes based on the employee manual. Again, based on what I see, we do reference the fact that sick time is only paid out in retirement. All of the accumulated leave payouts that I've seen here, if we paid sick time out, it was due to a retirement. Because there are some here, and they're not noted in the list if it was retirement or not. You know, we can go back and add that column in so that you'd have that differentiation. But for those that were just separations, we did not pay out sick time.
Mr. Detiniak, on that point though, and so that is actually one of the reasons why the prior auditor failed to get another contract. It's because those things were not properly disclosed to us, but it was not my understanding that they were saying or that the state had said that we had in fact made a payment at a time other than retirement, but that our handbooks allow for that. So I think what Councilman Geber-Michael and now Councilwoman Scarpa and me, I guess all five of us probably want to know is, have we made those payments at times other than retirement? We know that payments were made earlier this year prior to you accepting your role. Were all of those payments that were all of those payments in compliance with the law?
I couldn't answer that. I can only say that just on what I looked at, we didn't pay sick time out for anything other than a retirement. Now, if you ask me, was the calculation for this particular employee back in payroll period 1 in compliance with the law, I couldn't provide an opinion on that. I haven't done the due diligence to review it, so I couldn't give you an answer on that.
Colleagues, any questions on it? Councilman Castellino?
So to that point, so on this list, without, again, trying to keep confidentiality, but we had two employees that had passed. And so their calculations are in here. I assume that goes to their estate, correct?
Correct. There are 2 employees that did pass, and payment was made to their estates, yes.
Yeah, okay.
Anything else, colleagues?
Not regarding that.
Well, let's finish this one out and we'll come back.
Mr. Dutniak, I sent you an email so we can discuss offline.
Sure.
Anything else, colleagues?
Not right now. I haven't had time to think about it.
Please continue, Mr. Detiniak. Or was that it?
I think that's it. I think I've addressed the ordinance and the reasoning behind it.
Thank you. Councilman?
What was the year of the law? Because I know up until a certain year, employees were grandfathered in where the retirements, the payouts were capped with the sick time. What was that?
So it was 2007 law and the 2010 law. I believe that the 2007 law addressed certain positions such as like CFOs, and then 2010 attempted to address everyone else. But we were bound by the collective bargaining agreements that were in place at that time. So there is a sort of window there where that application wouldn't be at the effective date of the 2010 law if you had a collective bargaining agreement in place. I'm not a labor attorney, so I'm not going to try to pretend to speak to the nuance of it, but generally speaking, if you had a contract in place at that time, you waited till the contract expired and then a new contract went into place, and that became your effective date.
So to that point, maybe, I guess for our purposes, maybe a column could be added of their start date, so we know if they were way before that timeline. Because that, when you look at some of these payouts, their start dates, because I know the employees, they're 40 years ago, so they were
Correct.
grandfathered
Yeah.
in.
Yeah, the
There's a
majority
lot
of
of them
them,
on
I
here.
would think are all pre-20, maybe there's a couple that are not pre-2010, but the majority of them are gonna be.
Yeah.
But I will put in the hire date along with the type of severance, separation, whether it was retirement or, termination or,
Yeah.
they resigned.
Yeah, that would be helpful. Thank you.
So, Mr. Danae, to piggyback off of that, in the report, did the comptroller state limits for the payouts? I thought the limits were 15,000.
After a date, contract date.
So that is finding 3.
Say that again, I didn't hear you.
That's finding 3 from the comptroller.
Okay,
That the terms of West Orange's union contracts are not in compliance with the 2010 law with regard to payment of accrued sick leave because they allow for payments at a time other than at retirement and do not cap the payment at 15,000 for employees hired after May 21st, 2010 in 4 of its contracts. So I'm reading directly from the comptroller's. So I will put the hire date in for all these employees.
And what is the date of that correspondence from the comptroller?
July 7th, 2022.
I'd like to know the payments that triggered that third, whatever that is from the state, where it says that we've not capped the payment at 15,000. I'd like to know which payments triggered the state to cite us that way. Now, you may not be able to do it now. That's fine. But I would like to know what payments triggered that.
I don't know if it was a particular payment or if it was just a review of the contracts and the personnel manual. It sounds to me more like they were reviewing the language, but I'll confirm.
Thank you.
I gotta read. It's been a while since I've read through this particular one.
Thank you.
for the next meeting, because again, I'm gonna ask that we table this so that way we can read through. Can you reach out to the comptroller and make sure that these payments are lawful? Because I don't feel comfortable voting on something that can be deemed unlawful.
I don't.
Considering we all took oaths to uphold the US and New Jersey constitutions.
Sure. I don't know if the comptroller is really there to be sort of like a judge of our municipal practices. I know that they sort of have a mission to go out there, but I have never heard of anyone reaching out to them for an opinion. I mean, he may want to give an opinion.
I think
but
especially after this last report, I think it's important.
I am not going to commit to doing that. I will have a discussion with the administration about it. Because, obviously reaching out to the comptroller shines a very strong light on a community. So in the effort to be fully transparent with this governing body, I will consult the administration on whether they want to do that or not.
Right. Just know that if they don't do it, then I might not be able to vote on this because again, after our last report, it's really important that we follow the law. And if they don't want to, then that's a little bit of a red flag, honestly.
I understand that. I understand that.
Because I've reached out to them too before for various reasons to investigate our past CFO. So I'll leave it at that.
Anything else, colleagues?
I had a question,
Not related to this?
I have a question on
On
this.
this? Yep.
So if we don't pass this, what is the alternative if this gets denied?
So,
Where does that leave us budget wise?
and I don't want to, I don't want to say it in like a threatening way of like, you better do this or else. But the reality of it is if we don't take this action, what will happen next year is that the state of New Jersey will say you have an over expenditure in your trust fund, because to back up a bit, I should have mentioned this before. We make all these payments out of our general trust. So the municipalities are allowed to have a line, accumulated sick and vacation, but it also includes things like compensatory time and all that. So that, you can put money aside in the trust so that it carries forward until you need to use it. So we make all of our payments out of the trust, and this is going back the last few years, and then the emergency sort of funds the trust. And so right now, we have a negative balance in the trust. For the accountants out there, we have a debit balance in the trust for this particular line item. So I would have to raise that money as a deferred charge over expenditure of a trust balance. And that entire amount would hit us in the 2025 budget. So you'd have a $1.8 million deferred charge, essentially. Rather than the 360,000 that by spreading it out by doing the special emergency, that would be the impact next year, 360 instead of the full 1.8.
So if we want to correct that moving forward, again, you said this has been a practice that's been here forever, I guess. So if the council wanted to correct that moving forward, you would have to
So it's
eat that.
that's a good question. And it's a difficult thing to implement because we still have liabilities to pay out our current employees. Now, we can do things like when we negotiate contracts, we can look to limit those payouts in the contracts. That could be a bargaining item. What we can do for funding those liabilities, because if we say we have an $11 million future liability, we can put money in the budget to fund that accumulated sick and vacation. But again, there's a budgetary impact to that. By putting $500,000 in there, that's $500,000 of appropriations maybe we can't use somewhere else, or that we don't want to use somewhere else because there's a tax impact by putting $500,000 in there. So we can do things like that, but it's going to cost the taxpayer.
Last question, according to the contracts now, employees' contracts, they either get paid in one lump sum or it's up to them if we break it up. Is that correct?
Right. So when we have particularly larger payouts, we can sort of, I don't want to say entice, it's the wrong word to use, but the employee can save on the taxes by spreading that payment out over 2 years. So budgetarily, it helps us. Cash flow wise, it helps us. But ultimately, we're paying out the full amount. Like the first 3 items that you have on the list, those are split payments. Those were retirements from 2023, and they took half in 23 and half in 24.
Well, Mr. Detiniak, is there some guidance on the number of years that the employee can take the payments over?
Yeah, that was.
Because some of these are from 2020.
From 2020?
I could be wrong, but I read it earlier today. I did it quickly. I got it this afternoon. I thought I saw a couple of those in there from 2020.
I believe there's only some splits from 2023. The most I've seen in my career was when I first started in Orange, and we did 3 years. I've never seen more than that because people want their money, and they typically, once they've severed their relationship with the municipality, they want to get everything they can and then go. So I've never seen more than 3 years.
Is there guidance though about the number of years?
There isn't, no. There's nothing that I've ever seen. The state's never put out an LFN, recommending, multi-year payouts for the employees. It's just usually something that town or municipalities can negotiate for budgetary purposes, for cash flow purposes, and they sell to sort of like, you won't get hit with all the taxes all at once.
Right.
I have a question.
Sure.
Oh, were you gonna speak, Councilman Williams?
I acknowledge you, Councilor. I acknowledge
one?
you. Councilwoman Deborah Michael.
Okay, Mr. Dutaniak, doesn't state law supersede contractual agreements? And then that's one question I have for you. And then another question is, how much do you recommend we budget next year for this? So we don't have to do emergency appropriations again. What's the plan forward?
So
You don't know.
point number one, I want to comment on it. I'm not a lawyer, but I will say that when it comes to things like sick payouts and all that, yes, the state law does supersede. And we're seeing that as a CFO group with the sick leave incentive programs. Those were programs where people would sell 10 days and get paid out for 5. It was a pretty common program. And the intention was to pay it out now so that when the employee was retiring at the highest rate that they made as an employee, they weren't getting paid out for 200 sick days. So you were whittling down the sick days and paying them at, their rates as they progressed. State of New Jersey says no more of that. And they said, we don't care if you have it in a contract, don't do it anymore. It's against state law. So, we're seeing now unions grieving it, and we'll see what happens with that process. But a lot of municipalities have just said, I can't do this anymore. I don't care that it's in a contract. So yes, those things can supersede the contracts. They can be challenged by the groups. Really, anything can. So I don't know. It's kind of like a wishy-washy answer for you, but I'm not an attorney. I will say yes, it happens. State law supersedes the contracts, and then they can fight it out. So your second point, how much should we budget? I don't want to throw out a number right now because, we have to see what 2025 is going to look like. And we're going to have to look at what's the taxpayer impact just based on all of the things that, we have every year, like debt service and the pension costs and, what are salaries going to look like for next year? We're in the middle of negotiations, but, we can sort of gauge where we think it's going to go. So we're going to have to, put in an increase for however many percent. And then we can look at how do we fund sort of things like this, like our future liabilities. So it could be a moving target. But I think we have to have a plan long-term of, what do we want to maintain as a funded amount of our future liabilities. In 2022, I think we only had $300,000 funded of, the 11 million, a pretty small percentage. So, as a group, we sort of have to come to a consensus on, how much do we want to put in there to fund these in the future so that we're not doing the special emergencies. I understand the special emergency strategy, though. I do, in that they were spreading it out over the 5 years rather than taking those big hits in the budget. So, it wasn't the worst strategy in the world. I guess you have to pay it out. So they felt like this was the best way to spread it out.
I have a question.
And the other thing to piggyback on that, as to anticipating, we have employees that may reach their service time within what their pension requires for them to retire. But some employees are in tier 1 and they have, especially police and fire, where they have an incentive to stay longer. It's a percentage incentive. So they may decide that they're going to go in 30 years. We don't know. Some employees intend to leave when they want to leave, but sometimes they're like, they say, yeah, I'm going next year, but then they don't. And we don't force them. The only police and fire are the only two that have a mandatory retirement age, and that's at age 65. So all the rest of the employees do not have a mandatory. We don't know. Some retire right at 25 years. Because you could see some of these employees we have for 40 some odd years. So we don't know when they're leaving.
1 second, Councilman. I am going to call on you next, and then you, Councilwoman Castellino. But Mr. Smeraldo, to your point, instead of waiting till the end of the year when we know, and this has been we've had this conversation now 4 times, not necessarily by you, but the council has had this conversation 4 times. And the reason for waiting until the end of the year has been given consistently. It's that we don't know who's going to retire. We wait until everybody's going to retire, and then we pay for those funds, whatever they may end up being. If we were to overestimate, then we would be able to replenish the trust fund and not have to borrow as much the following year, or maybe not have to borrow anything the following year. And if we underestimate, it's going to have to come out of, the capital fund, the operating fund, but it's coming out of there anyway. Well, at least the way I understand it from your explanation, Mr. Detiniak, we're making these payments anyway. So I think what the council is trying to say is that, and I think they've said it well, I'm just going to say it differently. Let's get ahead of these things. And I know you're new. This is not to put it on you. This was not your doing. But let's get ahead of these things so that we're not getting to the end of the year and trying to figure out, and then folks don't trust and don't understand, and then you've got to go quickly. And, no one wants to go out into the bond market in December. And it looks like if this gets approved, you will be, that's when you're going to have mispricing. So, if we can get out in front of it and understand it as a part of our budgeting process, I think it helps the council and I think it helps the community. Councilwoman Williams, you wanted to comment?
Yeah, I did, because I remember when we were going through the budgeting process and we were looking at our police and fire, and we had so many people that was close to retirement age. And so I know that we can't really gauge that, but I was very concerned at that point, looking at our inventory and the number of years, especially from the fire department. We had several firemen who were very, very close to 25 years. So it's very concerning, because if they all retire at the same time, not only do we have the loss of personnel, but again, we have this payment. So we really should figure something out.
The one, I'm sorry, Councilwoman, if I could just say one more thing, because I'd be remiss if I didn't. There is a debt service cost to obviously going out and borrowing a note. And that is whatever the interest is on the note and the cost of assembling the professionals to go ahead and get that note. So that is part of the cost of this. So, when I say a $360,000 impact, I'm leaving that out. But the reality of it is that, we will have debt service interest on that note, and we would have spent some money out of our capital soft cost to go ahead and get that note. And I apologize for jumping ahead of you, Councilwoman Cook.
Councilwoman Scarpa?
I just want to say it's unconscionable that we're not budgeting for this. How are we supposed to approve new hires and determine how many people we should be hiring and how we're going to organize our departments if we have no handle on what the costs are going to be moving forward over a 10, 15, 20? There's no strategic planning that goes on here. I would like to even see us looking at our budget every month in our council meeting. I would have liked to see the supplemental debt statement for this. I want to know how much this $1.8 million is going to affect the bottom line. I can't see how we could not do this.
So I think we said if we would have budgeted for this in this year's budget, that would have been a $1.8 million hit to the 2024 budget, which I don't know if anybody would want an increase that big. As far as like projecting forward, it's a good plan. It's a good planning process, but I don't know how it would impact the current year budgets. But I think it is a good idea to see, what does someone cost over the course of a 5, 10, 15, 20-year period, because we do have steps in place. So a lot of our employees go into a step system. So we know that there are sort of annual movements, and we can project out those COLA increases, 2, 3% over the course, and then really see where someone lands. With newer employees, these legacy costs have gone down dramatically. They're going to be bound by that $12,000 or $15,000 sick leave payments. New employees can't accrue vacation past 1 year, so we're not going to have, bigger vacation payouts. And I think also what drove a lot of this is that during the COVID-19 pandemic, there was a lot of time that wasn't able to, be taken, and it was converted into what they call the limited time due days. So that probably was a lot of vacation time that was converted into that. So as those get paid out, obviously, I hope we don't have another pandemic where this happens again. We won't have those liabilities. But I agree with you in that, when you hire someone, you can't think of just 1 year. I mean, obviously we budget for 1 year, but we do have to think about those implications for, the course of their career. Because, hopefully they are going to spend 20, 25, 30 years with us.
And we
But
also
there's
have a lot of
cost.
discussions on whether we need to use consultants for things. And, that all should be looked at very strategically as a whole. And that's something we've neglected to do, and I'd like to see us do that moving forward.
I agree 100%. I do.
Anything else on this issue? Did you have something else?
None on this.
I just want to note, Mr. Smeraldo, I do want to thank you for your commentary regarding the catalytic converters. We do know that they do cause fires. So having an educational campaign around parking on piles of leaves is helpful, but also providing bags or letting residents know where they can acquire those bags is helpful. Allows us to talk about it all at one time.
There are bags available here at Town Hall, the administration office. I forget, there's a charge from, it's nominal, I think 50 cents a bag, something like that. And I believe they're also at our DPW engineering garage. They could pick them up there as well, at a nominal rate. And obviously, places like Home Depot and Lowe's and all those also have those kind of bags. We encourage, and I don't believe that the town will pick up leaves in plastic bags. So we encourage everybody to use the paper bags because it helps with the recycling and disposal of them.
So,
I can ask the public information officer if he could put up something about the bags if we don't have it, and talk about the leaves. We could talk to the fire department about that.
well, can I interject before because that's the point that I wanted to make.
Councilwoman?
Thank you. So I had spoken to our director of DPW about the bags because that was one of the biggest complaints, or a big complaint going around was the leaves and the leaves on the street and how they take up parking and how parking is already challenging in different areas throughout town. So I actually called and I asked him, why don't we bag leaves in West Orange? And and if we could even go to that process, and immediately it was, not received favorably, just bagging the leaves. It would cause problems for DPW because then they don't have a mechanism to pick up the bags. The bags of leaves are heavy, especially when they get wet. So before we start communicating to the public about the use of bags and leaves, we might just want to make sure our DPW can handle that.
I will
because-
speak to the director, but I'm talking in this particular circumstances where everything's dry. To get these things off the street, it's probably more, I'm talking from, like, the police chief and I differ on speed tables and speed humps. He loves them because it's enforcement. I hate them because it slows my fire trucks, or well, not mine anymore, fire trucks and ambulances. So we have a difference of opinions, and they both have value. The speed humps have value. Same thing here. Paper bags in this particular situation are prudent. We're taking things off the street and get rid of them now. They're not heavy, they're not wet. But I also agree with what the director's saying, that when they do get wet and heavy, they get compacted, they do come out in the street, they flatten out, and they do become an obstacle. And I know they have a schedule. I know they're out there all the time. They started on November 1st. They were out there working on Saturday. I believe they were working yesterday. They pretty much work almost
Around the clock with this, yeah.
And I think in this particular, because of the fire situation, it's more emergent for us to pick it up. But I think also because it's dry, our season is going to be a lot shorter because there's a lot of leaves on the ground right now.
A lot of leaves.
Yeah, I think the fire hazard takes precedent over the inconvenience to DPW. Not that we want to inconvenience you, but we certainly don't want to have,
I'll have the
increased fires
conversation
down.
with them tomorrow and we can discuss.
I think it was more about just the manpower and the possibility of injury, more so than anything else. But I do think it's something that we need to look towards as a town, even if it meant us having to buy different equipment and fund that so that we could do our leaf collection differently. It's just too inconvenient for us to have loose leaves all over town. I think we should revisit that.
All right, I still had a couple items, and I'll come to you, Councilwoman Castellino. Is that on the fire, on the leaves?
Yes.
Okay, please.
Not exactly leaves, but the recycling center, years ago, we did have the compost catch on fire.
Yes, we did.
Yes. So what remedies do they have? Are they wetting down or
Right
turning?
now, Mr. DeFeo is overseeing that, and they're moving piles around. He is working on it. He has had conversations with them. They're looking to reduce everything so that we can reduce the fire, because the big thing with the compost that the piles is it is decomposing and it's causing a friction inside, which can cause a fire. So they're moving the the piles around, and they're working diligently to make sure that these things don't catch on fire, because we understand how volatile that can be.
Yeah.
And the company is very aware of it because of the fire we had. I think it was in 2016 or something like that. It was on Easter. Yes, it was on Easter Sunday. Mayor Parisi was at the time, so because I got a phone call from him. So but yeah, and it was a difficult, stubborn fire. So we're cognizant of it. Mr. DeFeo's on it right now, working on it, and he's provided us reports on it.
Very good, thank you.
All right, so, in addition to an educational campaign for the leaves, it would be helpful, if and when we pass a gender neutral bathroom ordinance, that we do an educational campaign around that too. We say that hate has no home here. We're a stigma-free town. That's an opportunity, or a natural opportunity, I think, to try and increase tolerance, understanding, awareness, kindness toward a marginalized community, and show that the township is serious and sincere about advocating for their interests.
Well, Mr. Stephen Johnson's not here right now, and I know that in the meetings that he has had with the township, he's met with our health director, he has met with the mayor, and our staff and administration to discuss these what he calls challenges or inequities, and we're working on that, and we have changed things on our health page for that, and with his input. So we are actually working with him with Stephen at this point to make these changes. So
No, I get it. I just think that as we do it, let's look for an opportunity to elevate the work that's been done to the community, so that we, continue to strengthen these.
and I
diverse bonds
believe
we
that
have.
is their goal, to help that. I think that's their goal to do that, to make that promotion. And if not, we will make sure that, that happens. But
And they already changed the website.
yeah.
Perfect.
We've done a lot of that already with the input from Stephen.
Thank you. And then the final thing I wanted to say was with regard to the townwide solar project. I'm disappointed to hear that the Board of Ed isn't interested in partnering with us anymore. They were very enthusiastic about it when last we met, or at least when I was in the meeting. I will tell you that it is one of the things I said, and I think you were in the meeting, but maybe not, was the mayor needed to put out an RFP for the solar project. And that was when the resistance came, at least as far as I could tell. I don't know what the council will do if it is presented at that time, but the mayor has had ample opportunity to put out an RFP. It appears that she's having conversations with solar developers. That's all well and good, but to award that kind of a project to someone will require the township council. If she's not including the council or trying to get us to a point like she did with the downtown development, I would encourage the council to vote no. If it happens before December 31st, I will vote no. We've got to make sure that we approach these processes properly. The Main Street development wasn't done properly. This one, if it's done the same way, should meet a different fate, even if it is good for the town, because enough is enough. We don't have to create tough votes. So let's do the work that's required so that it isn't a tough vote. And that would be my encouragement to the administration.
I'll bring your message back.
Thank you.
I have a question.
You had a comment, and then Councilman
My
Scarpelli.
comment, just going back to my school board days, when I was there and we tried to bring in solar panels. And again, there's a new buildings and grounds team there. So maybe the reason why it did come back, they're not going to move forward is because of the way their buildings are, because we did that study years ago. And it was challenging to get done then. So I don't see any difference in their facilities from then and now. with their roof lines and whatnot. I think Liberty Middle School was the only real place they could have put something. And the high school, but it was taking away parking spots. So again, I mean, I could see the school board wanting to do it and then their facilities people coming back to say they couldn't do it because that was my experience years ago with the school district.
All right, I mean, we don't know what the reason is, and we do know that developers are willing to do the work on the roofs, should they need it, to be able to support the solar. So, you know, the point I'm making is exactly that. We don't know why. We had an understanding and a way forward. That got ditched at some point along the way with no communication to the Township Council and no further updates. So that is the process that needs to stop. Council.
Yeah, I just want to say, I want to know the reason. I want to know the reason why they're not interested in doing this with us, just like, you know, the shared services, but the garbage has been an issue for years. I want to know what the obstacles are. And I want an RFP. I won't vote for this without an RFP going out. I mean, I've had it with this stuff. I will not vote for it. I wanted to participate on that committee and I would like to be involved in it.
Well, I don't make that choice.
I
know. All right, so I think we have gotten through all of the questions and answers on public comment. I want to thank you guys for being patient as we deliberated, learned some new information. It's time now to get back to our consent agenda. Madam Clerk.
Thank you. Approval of minutes of previous meeting, public meeting, October 29th, 2024.
Consent.
Consent.
Report of township officers, none. Reading of petitions and communications and bids, none. Bill list, are there any questions on the bills?
No.
Okay, is that a consent?
Consent.
Consent.
Thank you. Resolutions, are any resolutions being pulled this evening?
Yes.
Councilwoman.
315.
Yep.
I have really questions on that one.
Do you want it pulled?
Does anyone else want it pulled?
I have questions also.
Yeah.
So,
I just
yeah.
have-
Yes, let's put, yeah.
Okay, we'll pull it.
Want it pulled? Okay.
Councilman Scarpel's pulled.
Anything else?
Anyone else? I want to pull 317. I just have I'm pulling it for questions. I'm not necessarily going to vote against it.
Okay.
Anything else being pulled, colleagues?
I'm good. That's it.
Madam Clerk?
Okay, is there a motion to approve the consent?
So moved.
agenda?
We need to move,
Second.
but state the motion because for the record, you have to state the motion.
She did.
No, she said so
I
moved.
said so moved.
The clerk stated the motion.
I said, is
I
there a
made the
motion to
motion
approve
to
the
approve
consent agenda? And she
consent.
said,
Okay.
So moved.
okay, thank
Yeah.
you.
I will say it, no worries. It's
Okay,
no
and then
problem.
Councilwoman Castellino seconded it. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion is carried.
All right, 315.
Councilwoman Geber Michael, I'll just read the title.
Mhm.
Resolution authorizing a professional services contract to CME for professional civil engineering and land surveying services associated with the Ospec and Crystal Lake improvement in an amount not to exceed $160,000.
Is our township engineer on, Director Carvalho?
She's not available tonight. She has been not feeling well, so she's not
Okay,
available.
well, I hope she gets well soon. I guess my question is, why did we go with CME? When I'm looking at what was bid, Matrix seems to be cheaper. Their base service was 134,000 and CME's is 160,000. But then when you look at total services, Matrix New World Engineering comes out to be 163,550 and CME's total is 220,000. So that's close to $60,000 more. So I wanted to know why are we going with CME? It's not the lowest. And can we table this until the next meeting?
I'll second.
So let's just say, before we do that, just a second. So this is an issue because we have been told consistently that we have to go with the lowest. So when I saw the cover letter and I saw the two asterisks,
Next to Matrix.
She has I don't know if you saw this.
yeah, it has, I'm gonna read it.
So sorry.
I'm gonna read it.
Yeah.
New World Engineering, although It says,
Yeah.
New World Engineering. I'm sorry, Matrix New World Engineering, although the least expensive, is missing land surveying services in their proposal that were outlined in the request for proposal. So help me understand. Are we, help me understand,
So the survey isn't in there.
right, the land surveying services is not included. Help me understand why they would even be considered at all if the bid was incomplete, which is what we were told with regard to the garbage contract. We were told we could not even consider, we didn't even get the data. We had to ask for the data on a proposal that was returned to us that was incomplete. So that's the first thing. Second thing is, how much does land surveying
That
cost?
was my question.
What is the approximate or estimate, or do we have one?
It's
Uh,
expensive surveys, especially on that.
Okay, so
property.
what is it? Is it 50,000? Is it 100,000? Is
Well,
it
There
25,000?
was something I read in here about the storm water runoff too, so, so that is more than just a meets and bounds surveys, that's more detailed than.
So shouldn't we have an estimate of what that costs or an understanding so that we could have, if we're going to consider them, because it seems like they were considered, which is different than what happened in the garbage contract.
Yeah, it's a very good point, Council President.
And if they are being considered, then we should know what that cost is. Thank you.
But I think if
Thank
I
you.
remember the contract with the garbage, the bid we didn't take was still on the list.
Not in the four options we could choose from.
No.
No, but they were listed on that proposal, but they were out.
Not, so my recollection is we were presented with four options from which to choose.
Correct.
And they were not one of those four. Now, we knew about the information and it was raised in the council meeting because some information was provided to us prior to the information that was presented for us to vote on. In this case, it's all being presented at the same time.
Council President,
Yes, sir.
in the attachment that was provided, by our township engineer on page 67 of that PDF, under, CME's, proposal, they do break out the land surveying services. Obviously, we don't have, a comparison from Matrix because they didn't provide one, but CME is estimating at 40,000.
So CME is estimating that of their 220,000, 40,000 of that is for survey.
From the base service bid, for 160,000, 40,000 of that is land surveying.
40,000 of the base 160 is survey.
Correct. And that can be found on page 67 of the
This was
PDF.
not,
I say page 67, but 67 of oh yeah, you're not looking at a
right,
computer.
this isn't numbered that way.
It's page 8 of CME's proposal.
Right, so it's page 2 actually here. Land surveying services. Is that right?
Correct. I'm looking at the fee estimate that was on page 8 of CME's actual proposal. And it's 40,000 listed for land survey.
All right, so,
I could bring my computer.
No, I believe you, and
It's
that's
easier.
fine. I just like this just highlights the issue, right? The issue is that in one case, we're told one thing. And because we wanted to choose, if we were gonna keep with the garbage contract, we were gonna choose the lowest cost operator that kept the service the same. That would have saved us $1 million a year. We were told we could not consider them because their bid was incomplete. And then we have this presentation, which maybe I'm reading it wrong. Maybe we're not considering Matrix New World, but their bid is incomplete. They are included in all of the information that is presented to us so that we can make an informed vote. And a part of that is unknowable to us at this moment when we're asked to take the vote. That, to me, highlights the problems with doing business. We can't do it one way because it meets a need here and a different way because it meets a different need here. And then when there's no trust, now we don't know.
So
So
I have a question.
if it's $40,000, if that's the estimate for land surveying, if you just assume even a 20% deviance, even if it was more than that, 25%, you're looking at $50,000. $50,000 for those services still brings them below the 220 that CME is charging. Councilwoman.
So the only thing that I want to bring to our attention is with the garbage proposal, it had to go before the state for approval before it could even come back to us and be put out to bid. And then once it came, we were aware that there was one bidder that did not bid on all of the,
Yeah, it was on our.
and it was
list.
on our list.
It was on-
No, okay, so we're not debating the garbage contract, but what I'm saying is we were told we could not consider that option at all, right? Because we had.
Because the bid specs weren't met.
Because the bid was incomplete is
Correct.
the actual term. Here we have Matrix New World providing a bid. They're listed amongst the responses.
This isn't a bid, Councilman. This is a request for proposal.
All right, well, they're responding to an RFP. I'm using the terminology loosely. They've responded. They have what would be an incomplete response because a portion of the services needed are not bid on. I don't know if they provide those services or not, but the point I'm making is when we tried to consider an incomplete bid, a bidder who responded with an incomplete response, let me tighten up the language a little bit, we were told we couldn't. And so, and that was not one of the 4 options that we were provided. Now, it wasn't part of the presentation that was up on this screen right here multiple times. It wasn't part of Mr. DeFeo's testimony.
Well, how did we know about it?
We were given the information prior to us getting in here.
It was on.
It wasn't on the list.
Was.
Okay, all right.
Yes.
Well, we weren't able to consider them.
And
They were not an option.
No, but there is a difference between an RFP and an RFQ. When we do an RFP,
This was an RFP, that's an RFP. Garbage was an RFP.
But this is on the list too. They're showing us that
Okay.
it's here.
All right, so.
and it wasn't selected.
So we were told we could not, once we decided that we did not want to change the level of service, and this is, I don't understand why this is under debate. Once we decided that we did not, as a council, the majority of the council did not want to change the level of service we were providing with regard to garbage, we could not choose an option from a vendor who responded to that RFP with a cost for that exact same option that we chose that was $1 million less than the one that was awarded that option with 2 previously undisclosed conflicts of interest from our town attorney. Like, all of that stuff smells funny. That just doesn't look right. And maybe it's me.
No, we were
It
told
just-
we'd be sued, remember?
We were,
That's what we were told.
so that's
Yeah,
not
but
going to
there's
affect
There
this.
was another reason. There was. a-
There's always one, but it
Sure.
just never seems to match up, right? Like we catch up.
Because again, I get where you're going there, but there was a whole explanation. Can we just talk about this one?
Are we allowed to choose, can we, because I know we are voting on a resolution that is an up or down vote on CME. So if we vote down CME, is the mayor going to come back with another option from this list? Or would it,
Excuse me, why don't we just table this?
I'd like to
so everybody
table it.
could
I'll
talk
make a
through
motion.
it?
I want to understand what's
Yeah.
going on with the process. So
Yeah.
this is, if it was to be voted down, would the mayor then have to come back with another vendor from this list?
Complicated.
I would leave that to the director to decide because I don't know if the mayor had anything. This is the director who
Yeah,
put this
it's
forward.
Or
This was based on
whoever.
engineering. So if you want to vote it down, you vote it down. I don't know if we're gonna get the same server. I don't know. As the councilwoman's suggestion, if we table this, I can speak with her tomorrow. I can provide you the answers. We can give you a more detailed answer and we can place this on for the next agenda. And then we can make that decision.
Aren't we
Because-
gonna get
I
a
was
lawyer?
going to
Because the
make that
lawyer,
motion.
yeah.
That's
I
fine.
would vote to table it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fine. We should still know the answer to
But we
that
should-
question.
We should have legal advice.
If we are going to vote on it in 2 weeks, we should still know the answer to that question.
That's the reason for what.
I will get those
did.
answers. I will talk to her, speak to her and we'll get those answers for you.
She
Thank
was-
you.
I try to get her today. She
All
was-
right, so I make a motion to table this.
I second.
Resolution.
Yeah, we all second.
Okay.
Councilwoman Castellino, To table, Councilwoman Geber
Yes.
Michael, Councilwoman Scarpa.
Yes.
Councilwoman Williams.
Yes.
Council President Rutherford.
Yes.
The motion carries.
All right.
All right.
317, Madam Clerk?
Yes. Resolution authorizing interlocal agreement with Borough of Roseland for Animal Control Services 2025.
Is Director Fonzino available?
I will find out.
So I just want to know what the number of calls for this service have been to our animal control officers.
I just want to say that I hope when we have these kind of questions moving forward, that we contact our directors. It's 9:00, 9:30. They've worked 8 hours all day. And then to be
Madam
just-
Clerk, Madam Councilwoman, you can do it the way you choose.
I'm just making a statement.
I know, I am too. Do we have Director Fonzino?
He is not.
Okay.
I just sent him a text, see if he's available to get on the meeting.
Okay, so I was fine with this because I remember voting on it, but the public asked a question and we should be responsive to the people that vote for us.
I'm not arguing that point. I
I'm
just
glad.
said we could have
Thank you. I'm
asked
glad we
this
agree.
information.
Not if,
Chime in.
Right.
It's not about whether they voted for us or not, because we represent everyone.
no, it's,
Just
they
answering.
vote.
Yeah, well, whether they vote or not, they're here and we should just answer
And-
their questions as best as we can.
And I believe the council president was correct in the question. I don't have the answer, so I'm not gonna make it for the statement, but the amount of services that we provide to Roseland is nominal in the sense of what we do. So I don't know how they determine the 16,000, but we do provide that service for them. And I believe in the past, if we dealt with a dozen animals, one a month, that's probably a lot.
I have a suggestion.
But I'm gonna see if I can get him.
Yeah, if not, why don't we just
Oh,
vote
oh,
for it?
sorry.
Why don't we vote for it if we can't get him? And you get the answer to the question for the public for next time.
Or
For-
why not
for our
just
next
take
I just
it?
got
I'm not concerned about it. I want to address, I recall when we had this the first time, and I can't recall when it was. It was, I think it was 2 years ago. That same question was asked. It's a legitimate question. We asked it then. I was satisfied with the answer then. The public, whoever asked that question tonight was not satisfied, or maybe they weren't a
Well, they
part of the
didn't-
process back then.
Yeah.
So would love to answer it for them, but for me, I'm fine, voting for
I
this.
believe he's getting on.
Yeah. Mr. Fagan, when, Mr. Fonzino joins, can you bring him over? Thank you, sir. The Jeopardy.
Not tonight, unfortunately.
Was everybody sick? Well, the COVID's going around.
Oh, no, stop, no.
The kids all.
I know, my son was sick on Wednesday.
I'm fine if Mr. Fonzino is having a difficult time, moving this for a vote. Do you see him, Mr. Fonzino? Okay, I offer a motion that we
I
approve
second.
317.
Okay. Okay, yes, thank you. Councilwoman Castellino?
Yes.
Councilwoman Geber Michael?
Yes.
Councilwoman Scarpa?
Yes.
Councilwoman Williams?
Yes.
Council President Rutherford?
Yes.
Motion carries.
I just would like us to get the answer for the public for the next time.
Ordinances on second and final reading, 2879-24, an ordinance amending Chapter 3, Section 17.1 of the revised general ordinances of the Township of West Orange, ordinances and resolutions preparation. Is there a motion to introduce on second and final?
I move to introduce on second and final.
Second.
Okay, Councilwoman Castellino?
Yes.
Councilwoman Geber Michael?
Yes.
Councilwoman Scarpa?
Yes.
Councilwoman Williams?
Yes.
Council President Rutherford?
Yes. Do we
Wait a
do
minute.
public comment now?
Yes, public hearing.
So we are now going to open the microphone for public comment in chambers only. If you're joining us by Zoom, you will not be able to participate in public comment. It's now open, madam. You have the microphone.
Thank you. So Michaela Bennett, Old Indian Road. It says this is being presented to you by legal. Do you have legal at the meeting? I didn't know that you could have a meeting without your legal counsel present
Yeah, you can.
or available.
I don't know.
I thought by contract, they have to be at every meeting. But how do you move an ordinance on second and final reading when you don't have the moving authority present? Just phrase that as.
He is available by phone if we need him, so.
All right, thank you, Mr. Sir.
Again, my name's Richard Friedman. I don't claim to know everything about accounting, but I do want to make a comment, and perhaps you can help me with this. You made the comment earlier that I believe that we were not in conformity with GAAP because we had an 11.
So I'm sorry, Mr. Freeman. So this public comment is restricted to this particular ordinance.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, that's
I
fine.
said he made the comment that I
Yeah,
wanted to say something, but will there be another opportunity?
not tonight, but I do have your phone number and I am happy to hear and pass along your concerns.
Or you could come
Thank
to
you.
our next meeting.
Yeah.
Or email us. You can email us.
I'm happy to email. It's so much better to say it verbally. So Mr. Rutherford, if you do call me, I can express it much better.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Council President, Director Funzino is on the call. If you,
That's okay.
okay, Director Funzino, if you can hear us, they no longer need to speak with you this evening.
Yeah, it's totally.
We want the answer for the person? No, let's get the answer.
He can send us an answer in email. He's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, we've already voted on it. Now we're not going to go back and unvote or rescind it.
The information is to the public,
We're just
the
gonna get the
number.
information.
Moving on. 2879, anyone else? So, Madam Clerk, did you read the title?
We just did it.
No, I didn't. An ordinance amending chapter 3, section 17.1. Did I read this? Yeah, I'm sorry.
I wasn't sure if
Thank
you did or not.
Yeah,
We just need to close.
Yeah, so
public
sorry.
comment,
Thank you.
Hearing. That's
So,
all.
for the public comment is now closed, seeing no one else wants to comment. For those that are not aware, this is a request that was made of Councilwoman Scarpa regarding how we receive ordinances that have changes to them. That's the only change that's on here. And so although legal is not here, I'm comfortable with the change that has been offered and as it is captioned here. So,
Can I say something?
yeah.
Okay, so I wrote an email to everyone regarding this. There was the ordinance this week, the stormwater ordinance, that was 33 pages. The copier in my office is single page, so I can't double side it. And if I make 10 copies, which is what is required in the meeting, that's 330 pages, plus there's 4 toner cartridges at $166 a piece, when they need to be replaced. And, I don't mind doing it, but to me, I feel like that is such a waste of paper. And my suggestion was that I would send home black and white copy, double-sided, like you always get them, and then send on Friday morning the redlined copy over via email so that you guys can compare and highlight what you need to see. It's up to you, but it's time consuming. It's a waste of paper. Everyone talks about the trees. And there's a cost to the toner, which is expensive. So it's just something to be considered by all of you.
Do you have it in your budget?
Well, this change does not require you to, at least
Yes, it does.
says ordinance which revise or amend provisions of the West Orange Municipal Code shall be drafted in a manner showing the revisions or amendments being made to the code.
Right.
So it does not require you to print it, but we do want to see it. Her purpose.
I needed to
Her
print it.
point was, Councilwoman Scarpa, and I apologize.
That's okay.
Councilwoman Scarpa's point was, when we have ordinances that have changes, she wants those changes highlighted. I think there were a couple that.
They always are. That's.
I think there were a couple that weren't.
There are a couple that weren't, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I want them clearly highlighted. It's very difficult to read all
So
this.
this requires that, and what you just suggested would be consistent with this, I
Okay.
think.
All right.
Would that be satisfactory to you, Councilwoman? To
Well-
receive it via email?
No, I want a hard copy.
Well, you can print her.
We
hard
could
copy.
print, and she did. She printed my hard copy.
Do they,
I
does it have
truthfully
to be?
want a copy too. I don't mean to be a.
Yeah,
pain.
I need to highlight and make notes
Yeah.
on it and compare it to other versions. If you really are looking at this critically, you can't do it on the computer.
I do. I just write my notes.
Well, I'm old, you know, the eyes are going.
All right, so
Do-
you can
do-
work that out going forward. with
But we
council.
get
This
it
doesn't
anyway.
stop.
You give it to us anyway in paper.
Yeah, but it's black and white.
You can't see the changes.
Yeah, I want.
I want the red line
yes, I want
version
the
of
red line
everything.
version. Yeah. I mean, if they don't want it, you don't have to make it.
Yeah, you don't have to make 5 if they don't need it. Some people are really
Fine,
proficient with the
laptop.
computer. Yeah, some people.
Yeah.
are
If we need to, we'll see what we can do to accommodate that.
All right, but whatever that accommodation is would not violate this ordinance.
No.
Now, it might not
The
be
legal-
satisfactory to individual council members, but that's
Right,
something
and
to
then
work.
the legal department has to be reminded that they need to provide it to me, because I don't write them.
Right.
They, so I'll make sure I remind them as well.
I offer a motion that we approve,
Second.
2879. Is that
Okay,
what this is?
yes.
Yeah,
Mhm. Okay. Councilwoman Castellino?
Yes.
Councilwoman Geber Michael? Councilwoman Scarpa?
Yes.
Councilwoman Williams?
Yes.
Council President Rutherford?
Yes.
The motion carries.
All right.
Ordinances on first reading, 2880-24, an ordinance amending and supplementing Chapter 7, Traffic, subsection 7-7.3, temporary parking prohibition for snow plowing and removal, 7-14.1C, night parking restricted, and 7-12, parking prohibited for street cleaning and maintenance of the revised general ordinances of West Orange.
I make a motion to introduce on first reading.
Second.
Thank you. Okay, Councilwoman Castellino?
Yes.
Councilwoman
Yes.
Geber Michael?
Yes.
Councilwoman Scarpa? Councilwoman Williams?
Yes.
Council President Rutherford?
Yes,
The
and
motion
just so that
carries.
we're clear, this is only for snow plowing, or other street cleaning and maintenance, correct? This is only for those moments.
No, also night
Reading.
parking.
This is for Oxford Street. I think it's Oxford, right?
Oxford.
I think it's for Oxford. Let's see. I'm sorry, which one is that? This is-
2880. Oxford Terrace West,
Yeah.
Days All.
Okay, that one. Yeah, this is just for Oxford Terrace. So this is because what's happening is Oxford Terrace is such a small little street that we're trying to get it that we can get on either side. This was a request from many of the residents to have this gone through. So
From many of the residents.
Director Caballo, this is in response to what the residents wanted. This.
All right, so the way I read this, so the first one is, it's a temporary parking prohibition for snow plowing and snow removal, right?
Right.
And I totally understand that. Second section, night parking restricted. What does that mean? Because you can't park on the street at night now.
On some of them you can.
Some streets we
Some
can, some
street
streets you
can.
can't. Depends.
I thought it was 2 to 6 townwide.
No, it's not.
No, not
It's
there.
not.
2 to 5. No, it depends on the area.
In my street, you could park outside.
All right, and then the final one, I understand. Okay. So it is no more, so 2 to 6, it will be no parking on Oxford Terrace.
Right.
And do they have
And the
other
residents-
I
accommodations?
believe it's 2 to 5, not 2 to 6.
All right, whatever,
Yeah, it's a 3-hour window. That's just to make sure that nobody parks continuous overnight.
But will they have other
and-
accommodations for
I'm sorry,
parking?
say that one again?
Will they have other accommodations for parking since we're now removing their ability to park on the street?
I believe these are residential neighborhoods. They have
They have-
driveways.
they have
can-
driveways,
They have
yeah.
driveways. They can park in their driveways.
So we have one resident that lives on Oxford Terrace that's been into a council meeting and they don't have a garage or a driveway.
I'm not aware of that. I could ask the director on that.
Okay.
We could have that answer for you. If you want to pass this tonight, we could have the answer for the next meeting. It's up to you.
Yeah, it's on first reading, so that's
Yeah.
fine. We just want to make sure that none of the residents are going to be
Okay,
inconvenienced.
I will ask her.
Have all of the residents been communicated with?
I cannot answer that factually, I believe so, but I will get that answer for you as
All
well.
right, so what I would like to know is if there was a complaint that came in, was that, how was this addressed with the rest of the residents that may not have complained? Do they know about these changes?
Well, they
And
have-
Councilwoman, if you have that address for me offline, you could let me know. I will.
I'm gonna have to go and look because I don't know it off the top of my head.
Okay.
Is there any responsibility to let the residents know when we make these changes on this?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, they have to send a letter.
They send a
Mhm,
letter.
yeah.
They also have to read the letter.
Yeah, they do.
Just want to make sure that
I
it's,
will say that our DP, our engineering department sends out, like, when we're doing streets, all the letters are sent out, copies. I believe you've been getting the copies of the letter, not the actual list, or maybe I don't know that they give every single list, but they do copy us that these are the letters that are going out to the residents. So you do receive them.
There's
And
notification.
they'll post on the poles. on the
Right.
Street. too.
Okay, good.
All right.
anything else? That's, so we introduced 2880. Madam Clerk, 2881.
So sorry, yeah. Resolution, I'm sorry, resolution. That's
Yeah,
where it's
that's
supposed to be an
ordinance.
ordinance. Oh, my goodness. An ordinance of the Township of West Orange in the County of Essex, State of New Jersey, providing for the issuance of special emergency notes in an amount not to exceed $1.8 million to fund contractually required severance liabilities resulting from the retirement of employees in the township.
I move for the
To,
adopt on first reading.
no,
No.
to table until the next meeting.
Yeah.
Second.
Okay.
And yeah, because I would vote no because I didn't get the supplemental debt statement. I want to know how this affects our debt.
Do we get a supplemental statement for something like this?
Every time we bond, we should get the supplemental debt statement.
It's a special emergency.
Right, so, okay, that's.
But
what
we
I'm
still need to
confused.
know how it affects our budget.
Yeah, okay.
And then you know the questions that I have that I've stated are important.
Council President, did you give a second on that?
Yes,
Was it you?
on the table.
Right. Okay, let me just take the vote. Councilwoman Castellino?
The table, yeah.
Yes. Councilwoman Geber Michael?
Yes.
Councilwoman Scarpa?
Yes.
Councilwoman Williams?
The table, yes.
Council President Rutherford?
Yes, Mr. Detiniak, if we were to have passed that tonight, would that bond have been issued before December 31?
We may have gone out for notes before the end of the year, but the more important thing is to have it established as a special emergency so that we can spread the budgetary impact across 5 budgets rather than all into 2025.
So
Oh.
providing the authorization this year allows you to float the bond next year.
I mean, we can do the note next year, but the most important thing is to declare a special emergency so we can spread it out over 5 years. Yeah.
All right, so, and I understand your distinction there. I know a note is a shorter term than a bond.
Yeah, because, there's
I get it.
two pieces to it. Yeah, there's the note for the cash flow, which, we could do this year, we may not. But then there's the other side of it so that we can spread out the impact from a budgetary perspective over either 5 years or 1 year. So if we don't do this at all, it'll all be raised in 2025.
Got it. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Did we want this on the next agenda?
Yes,
Okay, thank you.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think I made it pretty clear how I'm gonna vote pending answers to my questions, so.
Before we move into pending matters, new matters, council discussion, I did just want to congratulate Dogwood Green as what looks like the first cannabis cultivation operation to open in West
Retail.
Orange.
The retail.
Dogwood Green is retail?
Yeah, the retail.
I'm sorry.
Dispensary.
I thought it was the other one. I'm sorry.
No.
Well, I kind of congratulate him anyway.
They're number 3. right?
Congratulations, Dogwood Green.
Are they number 3?
as
They're
a-
number 3, right?
Number 2.
Oh, no, the other one's down on Valley Road. It's
Well, congratulations, Dogwood Green. Welcome to West Orange. We wish you well.
Oh, but they're
They haven't even come back to us yet.
and they're doing construction and stuff. down
Yeah, but
All right, council, pending matters, new matters, council discussion. Colleagues, anything? Councilman Geber Michael?
So the first thing is the forensic audit. When I went on the website, I noticed it wasn't just the 2023 year that we recommended and I guess talked as a council. There were some changes made.
I believe all changes were made based on,
Yeah, but when I checked on the website, it showed 2021, 2022, and 2023.
That's not what we agreed on.
So we had agreed just to look at 2023 for now, and we mentioned it in the council meeting because we made recommendations to edit the parameters because there were certain things that weren't necessary.
I will double check, because I believe that it was sent out as requested in the meeting, and then everything was sent to you for final approval, and then we put it up there based on that. I will discuss with the QPA tomorrow.
you.
All right?
So, yes, so what we were given, and just to go back, and so it was edited. And those final edits were incorporated. What was not included was the conversation we had in council chamber about this RFP with regard to cost. And it got past me, I didn't notice it. But the RFQ that I have does list all 3 years and it says and. We had agreed in that council meeting to just do 2023. Based on what we find, then we can go back out to 22. If needed, then we can go to 21, or as far back as we decided to go, but for cost purposes to only do 23.
Yeah, I believe that's correct. I believe that's what we did discuss, and if that's not what's on the site, I'll take a look at it. But I know we did have that conversation.
Yes,
Yeah,
thank you.
we have to clarify that right away.
Something else I wanted to discuss was in reference to Ms. Bennett's public comment. I wanted to make a motion to rescind the resolution that we adopted last January and for it to be 1-year appointments going forward.
Well, I believe that's on the new matters. You want to do that for the next meeting?
Correct.
But I see Ms. Bennett sent something already in. I forwarded to Mr. Trank. He's no longer available to get on, but he said that he will look for it. He will have an answer for you for next meeting. So this way, if you want to,
Question, can he review it if it's about him? It's still, would have special counsel have to look at it?
he's still the law department. We have to forward it to the law department.
I know, but it's a conflict of interest. The last time this happened, there was special counsel.
If he reviews it and he feels that there's a conflict of interest, I'm sure he's going to pass it out. Well, I just can't circumvent that process. Because he is still the appointed law
I
director.
understand.
So until he's not,
So I made a motion.
All right, so before we go through that, because I think you're
Yes.
fine, I think you're on good grounds, but you did have a question, Councilwoman, before we?
Yeah, because you do have an attorney that you
But
did
that's for
a
the
case
lawsuit.
with. I know, but if there was an argument made, I would think he would have used that argument for the case.
He's been taking
I
a very
disagree.
narrow approach and he's
Right.
looking only at that case.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
they
but
have
that's
not-
part of the case. That
No,
No, it's not.
actually,
It's not part of the
fact
case.
that
not.
You're violating New Jersey Constitution by bypassing the legislative process for him to hire his law firm and bill the amount that he's built. So that's
That's
The
what
lawsuit.
he's focusing on.
That's the
what
lawsuit, and it's
on.
that narrow.
No, he also reviewed
No.
that we voted him in as the director for 4 years.
No, that's
so-
not part of
Well,
the
let
case.
me say something on that.
Disagree with you, and this is pending litigation, so for us to talk about this openly, I don't think is appropriate.
Yeah, so that's all.
I'll
I'm
drop
saying.
it. I'll
Yeah.
drop it.
Very factual, it's very black and white. She stated that we are violating the Constitution.
Okay.
I'd rather that we don't continue to violate, even though some of us
I'm
are trying to uphold.
Oh, and I'm sorry, and I just know too to uphold.
Well, time out. Hey, wait a minute. Ladies, council people. One moment. We're gonna, wait a minute.
$1,000.
Wait a minute, wait.
It's a violation.
Councilwoman, please.
I
Councilwoman.
know you.
Listen, stop, please, stop. All right, so
It's ridiculous.
it is. What we are not gonna do is argue about something we can't make a single difference about in this argument. So if we want to discuss it, we can discuss it offline after the meeting. But nothing that we say or do in this proceeding is going to affect that at all. If Mr. Trank is no longer available,
Yeah, I tried to get a hold of him, but now that was 2 hours ago. We tried to get him and now it's.
He's sleeping. It's 10 o'clock.
So on that same general issue, we've now had 3 different township attorneys representing the legal department in our council meetings in the last 2 months. We had, or actually, we had 2 in the last 2 months. We've had 3. I don't know when the last time Mr. Trink was here. Now, if he is still the head of the legal department, it is his responsibility to be here. If he's not gonna be here, I don't know, I don't even know that that was ever a question before, but the fact that he's now sent 2 other folks, and then on a night where he claims neither one of them could be present, he can't be present either, and he has no one else to send?
I did speak to him about your question before. He did say if it is a question under the Faulkner Act, he will review it, he will look at it, and he'll have his office provide an answer to you for the next meeting. And then, based on the information provided us, so Ms. Bennett sent this document in, so I forwarded to him for review. So we will be in the process to get you an answer for next meeting.
Which is understandable and acceptable. The problem is, he's not here, right? And a part of that job as head of legal is to make sure that we have legal representation in the town council meeting. So if we have a legal question, we have our own attorney who is supposed to be responsive to this body as well to answer it.
That's what the code says. Yes, we do.
So Mr. Trank needs to bring himself and sit in that chair if he's not gonna have somebody else there. I recommend he do that and not send someone else. Especially since they can apparently cancel on a short notice or whatever, and he not find a suitable replacement to answer simple questions like this. I find that unconscionable, to use the councilwoman's word. But I'll end that there. We're not gonna change that any further tonight too. Colleagues, anything else on new business pending matters?
Motion.
Oh, that's right, that's right.
Can you tell me what the motion is, please?
The motion is to rescind the resolution that we adopted last January, authorizing department heads to serve for the term of the mayor's duration. And it's supposed to be 1-year appointments. And I would like that rescinded. That's one resolution. Another resolution giving 1-year appointments.
You want that rescinded? The resolution giving 1-year appointment?
No,
No, the
we don't have
resolution
1
was
year
for 4
appointments. It's
years.
for 4 years, or
Okay.
the duration of the mayor's term. We don't know how long.
Right. So
Whatever.
you're rescinding the one resolution.
And we like a new one on.
You want this on for next meeting?
Yes.
Yes. A new resolution that you want 1-year appointments.
1-year
Correct.
appointments for the department heads.
Okay.
I guess, I don't know, this is why we need legal. Maybe they serve as holdovers until January. It should be a new,
Yeah.
the effective date should be for January, really,
Yeah.
for next year, for the new incoming council. But for us, it should be for the duration of this year they serve, and then January should be a new contract from January to December 31st of next year.
I thought we listened to comments that talked about the 1-year contract and we said we would get more information. But the rationale that was presented to us about why directors don't have just 1-year contracts spoke to not having continuity and then worrying about whether or not they were going to have their job on a year-to-year basis. We talked about having the appropriate talent and them not wanting to work for our township if they're going to be at risk of termination or non-renewal. So shouldn't we find out whether or not our document, the Faulkner Act, is the correct governing document before we rescind anything? I mean, we're making a motion and we don't have legal counsel to tell us whether or not it's a valid motion or not. And we're doing this based on what other legal authority? A resident can come and tell us anything. That doesn't make it fact until we get more information. I'm not suggesting that you aren't right. I just
Please let me
said,
address her.
okay. But we do need to have factual information before we rescind anything to make sure we are correct.
And
I get it. I get it. But based on what legal authority?
Are you finished, Councilman?
Yes, I'm asking Councilwoman, based on what legal authority would you do this rescission?
So do you want to answer?
No, I don't want to answer her.
All right,
Let
so
legal
I think,
deal
I
with it.
think part of what this highlights for us is what happens when you do not trust the township attorney. Even if he were to give us advice on this, because it affects him, I don't trust it either. I mean, and rightfully so. So like,
Conflict.
what look, going forward, there, people in West Orange are concerned about a whole host of things, many of which are under our authority. And to the extent that we engage in these political gamesmanship or brinksmanship kind of activities, it is going to hurt West Orange residents. That is a reality. So when the council makes a vote, let's just honor the vote. If we don't like the vote, let's figure out a way to present something new or make some changes, but let's honor the vote. Because once the trust is eroded, it takes that much more work to get it back. And like, we're at a place now where I don't know that that's even possible with this particular township attorney. So should he be able to stay for 4 years? I don't know. I read the state statute, or I had it read to me. I didn't actually read it myself. It was read to me. Didn't seem like it was not in compliance with our local code, but maybe it is. Who's the right arbiter for that? It's not Trank. He's not the right arbiter. Now, you got to send it to him. Send it to him.
We
He
get
needs
a
to send it
second
to someone
opinion.
else.
We need a second opinion.
And hopefully we can trust that person, but that's the rabbit hole that we've now gone down, is a lack of trust. Councilwoman.
And that's where I do agree with you. We needed to go to someone else to make the opinion. And because I can't vote on this without having an opinion.
I would like for us to go into executive session in the next meeting to discuss this with a attorney that doesn't have a conflict, so it should be special counsel.
Okay, I'll speak, we can put on an executive session for next meeting, and I'll speak to Mr. Trank tomorrow and advise him what you
So
said.
we now have three items on executive session, is that right?
But we could, yeah, when you also need.
Bond,
The bottom, no,
The
the
union-
this,
the 160.
yeah, and then I.
No, that's not on, no, yeah, that was tabled,
That's tabled,
The union contract.
the union contract.
And what was the third thing?
And this.
And this is the third thing. Right, so it's the bond, the 1.8, union contracts. And the new business that the Councilman Gabor Michael raised with regard to the consistency between our local code and state law on these director appointments.
Okay.
Okay, I think that covered it.
It'll happen, whether it's this year or in January.
I really didn't want to.
No, it's true. It's
Yeah,
gonna
it's
happen,
true.
one way or another.
Township has spoken.
Yeah.
Anything
So,
else,
well,
colleagues?
There's a motion and a second, so how is that being handled?
I withdraw the
Withdraw.
motion,
Okay.
considering. we don't have
Councilwoman
legal
Scarpa, do you
Yes.
withdraw? Thank you.
So we could go, we'll
Yes,
we'll
executive
discuss in
session,
executive
yes.
session.
Okay.
I think that's
So it's
best.
just, it's just
I
frustrating.
have something.
Yes. But still, early. Yes, Councilman.
This is different matter.
Sure. This
Okay.
is all pending matters, new matters.
Okay, so just for Mr. Smeraldo, I had sent it, email to the chief this morning. So there was, the situation that I mentioned earlier on Valley Road, there was a party or soccer game. And the issue was a determination couldn't be made because there wasn't a zoning officer, like we don't have a zoning officer on the weekends.
We only have one zoning official and we have 3 inspectors.
No, and I know that, and I know contractually, I don't know if somebody could be on call for when a situation like this occurs. I still don't understand, I need to talk to chief, but he's away, why the police could handle it and they defer to the zoning officer. But if there, and this isn't the first time I heard this, so is there any way someone can be on call? So if a situation arises, we can send somebody there. Now, again, I'm not sure contractually if we're able to do that or not.
I'll talk to Ms. Adams.
Okay, because I'm thinking, that may be a way to solve some of these
Mhm.
issues that come up.
Sounds important.
And, if somebody's on call, they could go over there and make a determination over the weekend.
So I read those emails as well, and we've had this issue with other sports too.
Yep.
And while we may or may not be able to have a zoning official check on the weekends, is it not appropriate to have the body camera images from the police that respond to the scene to inform the zoning officer and serve as a
Yeah.
basis, or have their report serve as the basis for whatever infraction? Is that not appropriate? I don't understand.
I don't know that answer. I'll have to talk to the chief about that. There's policies with body worn camera. I don't know how that can be done. That's his expertise.
So I just, for the record, want to say that we had one that had like hundreds, if not 1,000 people at one of those things
Yes.
where, and it was the same issue. It just wasn't soccer. It
Yeah.
was a different sport. If we were able to, because a lot of those were on Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday as well. If we were able to effectively address that one, we should be able to use the same tools and techniques to address this one. At least I would hope. And I know that the police were involved in that one. So I'm not trying to create an additional job for the zoning official
Yeah. There.
or additional hours on the weekends, but I hope that we have the tools in the toolbox.
Okay,
deal with it.
I will talk to her and I will talk to the chief about the body worn camera policies.
Thank you.
We just have to think outside the box to find someone who has the authority to deal with this situation.
It is the zoning official. I mean, we've talked about it as well, but she can't use the body worn camera footage. She has to, if she's gonna write a summons, she has to be the eyewitness.
All right, so let us know what we did with the other one that was on Watch On. Just for further reference, that was shut down.
Well, the police went to that one.
Well,
Yeah.
the zoning official, I don't believe did, or maybe she
No,
did, and
good.
I'm just.
Well,
not
she
aware.
did after the fact, yeah.
All right, anything else? Pending matters, new matters, council discussion?
Yeah, I have
No,
something.
you
I have
do?
something for new matters, please. So, as you know, we have that, for the ABC board, there is the one outstanding hearing that you have. So I've been advised to tell you that we need to complete that by the end of this year, because with the change of council coming, that if we do not complete that ABC hearing, that it has to be dismissed and start all over again, and then you'll have to, everybody who's going to be sitting is have to go through the whole thing all over again, because they can't, it's not like the planning board or zoning board where they could just do an affidavit. So we'd have to bring everybody back. So it's been suggested to me that the week of December 2nd, there is nothing on the calendar as far as town council meetings, planning board, so on and so forth, that I believe, I except maybe the planning board, maybe the 3rd, but the week of December, the 4th, I mean. So December 2nd and 3rd, I believe are open. That's a Monday, Tuesday.
Well,
It
the
is,
fourth is planning board.
yeah, so it's a Monday, Tuesday, December 2nd, 3rd are open.
I'm not available Mondays and Tuesdays.
I'm just,
I'm just letting you know.
yeah, I'm just
so-
like, I'm passing on the information to you. This is yours to make a decision on. I'm just telling you those days are there, and that if it doesn't get completed, then this may get tossed out. Then that's start all over again. So
It's scheduled looking like for Thursday, the 5th.
and it is believed they probably need 2 more nights of testimony. So you should schedule at least 2 nights, possibly a third to have in
December?
December. Yes.
There's so many social
No,
things.
it's.
Well,
Can't
the
see how we
next
could do
precedent
3, maybe 1, but not 3.
Well.
I mean, there's so many things on the calendar.
You're gonna start.
I'm the messenger. I'm
I can
presenting
do
to
the
this.
5th or the 6th. I can do the 5th or the 6th. It
Same.
requires me to move something on the 5th. I have enough time to move
I
it.
think I can do the 5th and the 6th as well.
6th is a Friday night.
It doesn't matter. I'm willing to commit to a Friday night.
I
Yeah,
can't do
I
that.
can.
I can't do that. I can do the
That's
5th, that's it,
engagement
but not the
Okay.
6th.
But so the 5th is at least one date, it seems like. Can you make the 5th?
What about the Saturday?
Check
Can we
your
do it on a
schedule.
Saturday? Is that
No, I
possible?
can't do the
Now I
Saturday.
have a downtown event Saturday.
The 7th?
All
Nope.
day, yeah, work all day. Yeah.
The 9th is the night before the council meeting.
No, I can't do any Monday or Tuesday.
Okay.
I mean, if the rest of them can, you can go ahead and schedule for that time. I just won't be there.
Well, can we do it on the 2nd, December 2nd?
I can do the second.
So we can do December 2nd and then we can do it again, December 5th.
I can do the second and the fifth. I can do the second, third,
What night is?
So
it?
let's do the 2nd and the
the
5th.
fifth, or the sixth. I can do,
Let's put two
I
calendar
I have
dates,
to
the
move the
2nd.
second. I have something on the second. I gotta see if I can move it.
so I had something on
could
the
do the
fifth, but I can
third.
move.
You can do the 3rd. I can do the 3rd. So we can do the 3rd and the 5th.
Third and fifth?
The 3rd and the 5th is fine.
You do the third, can you do the third?
What's, I could do
It's
the
a Tuesday.
Yeah, Tuesday, yeah.
You have to read in too, because you missed the first meeting.
I do, I have the tape.
Yeah, you gotta do the tape.
I did, I listened to.
You're
Yeah,
the-
you did.
The third and the
I have the
fifth,
tape.
Okay.
and you're good on the third and the fifth?
I'll have to be, yeah.
Karen,
And
do
you're
you
good
need
on
the
the
tape
fifth?
back?
Only the
You
fifth,
need the
correct.
tape
So I'll
back?
just have to recuse
You
myself
have-
or not vote on whatever.
No, you could
have
listen to the
to
tape. You have to listen to the tape.
Let's see if I can and how long it is.
All right, so we're looking at the third and the fifth.
Okay. I will
Float
let them
that to
know.
the attorneys and let's see what they say.
Yep.
Yeah, because the police have to be available too.
We said December 3rd and 5th, correct?
Correct.
Wanna
Anything
say-
else?
What time?
Yeah.
5 p.m. or
I
6
cannot
p.m.?
commit to watching.
6?
5 p.m. or
Right.
6?
Give
I
people a
can't
chance to
try.
get here, get some dinner.
Unless we
Six.
make it the following week. and you
December
find
3rd,
out.
6 p.m.
Yeah.
and December 5th.
Might
Yeah.
be busy the following.
And
week.
that's not
Got
possible.
Stuff on the calendar.
I have a
Six.
young child who's on 2 sports teams, so
Yeah.
2 travel soccer teams.
Can they do the short version and get
Yes.
it in one meeting?
No,
What, the hearing?
Yeah.
No.
because both sides got to present.
Yes, it'll be like a
Yeah, plus
2-hour
they,
hearing.
witnesses.
Can we say
It's
we
like
got
a
another,
trial.
we got another 8 hours for you?
So we got the third and the fifth starting at 6, and you're gonna send us an email letting us know.
Well, that's gonna be a long week. Why not do the 5th and the 12th?
We don't have a council meeting that week.
Yeah,
We do.
you do
Yeah,
on the 10th.
Yeah.
No, on the second I'm talking about.
No.
Yeah, so if we do the 5th and 12th.
I mean, on the third, there's no council meeting.
Well, you said you needed 3 dates.
But what about the 12th for the
And
third
look,
date?
once we get into if something comes up and we miss a date, like that weekend, the week of the 16th.
You're done.
Yeah,
And every
You're
one
done.
of us have to be here, right?
Yes.
Every one of us.
The 2nd, the 5th, and maybe the 12th.
it's the
if-
third, the
I'm sorry, the
fifth.
3rd, the 5th, and maybe the 12th.
I tell them they better get it in.
I can notice.
You can't tell these people you gotta get it in when it's a
Right.
hearing.
Due
Like,
process.
I don't even understand what you're saying right
We
now.
don't even know if
We
the
stay
other
till it
parties
gets
are gonna
done.
be available.
Yeah,
you know?
witnesses.
Well, he's gonna let us,
police officers.
Yeah.
he'll let us.
Okay.
Get everybody.
All right, so I'm gonna give them the December 3rd, 5th, and
Twelfth.
the alternate date of the
You're
12th.
gonna-
You need an additional date.
You're gonna on the 12th? You're gonna on the 12th?
I have to check. I'll
You're
try
good
to
on
make
12?
sure.
Yep, 6
I
p.m.
don't
all,
know. I
3, 5, 12.
think I'm
What
correct.
days?
okay.
It's a Thursday.
Right,
Yeah.
I have something
know.
on every Thursday.
No, I have a meeting, but I'll smooth it.
All right.
Okay, thank you.
Is that it? for that?
Anything else? Pending matters, new matters? No? We can then adjourn this meeting and go into ABC. Is there a motion?
Adjourn, I move to
Second.
adjourn.
Okay, hang on. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the meeting is adjourned and we are opening up as the ABC board.
Good night, everybody. Thank you, West Orange.
Good night.